Yo, welcome everyone. Society of 322. My name is Jesse.
I'm Luis.
I'm Alex.
I'm Nate Froze.
Oh, nice, perfect. They did their intros. Nate Froze from where? Where are you from, Nate?
Heffley Creek originally.
Oh, very nice.
I'm from Joy Factory Films.
And Alex?
I'm from Australia originally, and
Nice.
Aspect Filmworks.
All right. Thanks for tuning in. Here we are.
Give me the little thing. Like, I'm going to switch over to Joy Factory Films.
All right, and we're back. So we're just going to share these things here, if you guys will bear with us.
I love the screenshot part of it right now. It just looks like...
Oh, yeah, nice. Nate's lounging.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Looking
So
good.
thank you everyone for joining us. There's a few people already following us on live. It's exciting, yeah.
Woo.
We're gonna jump into things just right now after we share and get people on the roll. There we go. Hey. How's everyone doing? What are you guys doing?
I'm good. We're
Good.
busy. Two of my employees are installing flooring in our new office right now. So I got to leave that to come here. But it's exciting, being moving right now.
What's the big move? Is that tomorrow?
Tomorrow morning, and we just got flooring today. It was supposed to be in last Friday. I was going to install it over the weekend, but yeah, it just came in. So it was stressful, but we're on pace to move and be in our new studio tomorrow. We're going to be next to Rosalind and Lisa Novak downtown. So yeah, big move out of Kick, but long time coming.
No doubt. And you're finally going to be downtown, man. It's going to be a beautiful thing. Finally.
We did it.
What kind of flooring you got coming in? What flooring did you go with?
I think it's called Whistler.
Oh, wow, very
nice
nice. Sounds
choice.
expensive.
Yeah, light gray, more of a almost like your walls, I'd say.
Okay, depending on what
Depending on what
wall
lighting
you're
is
looking
on
at.
it. And then the paint they got was Frost, which is basically just pure white.
Mhm.
And we painted a door blue, so that was nice.
Oh,
Aw,
That's very
nice
Blue
touch.
door. Mm-hmm.
Nice. So for joining tonight, we have videographers. That's what we
yeah,
have. We
videographers.
have our own house, so Harrison Bayman, Jesse. I'm here as a host. I haven't
Yeah, Louise,
jumped
the
into
host.
the whole videography, but
No, you
yeah.
have, man.
Well, I started playing with it, but I don't think that's videography yet.
It's not your thing.
I love it.
No, it's
I like
definitely-
it. But
Once you start, man, you are a videographer.
yes,
It's just
I
like
started
what's
picking up a camera. I want to say when did I buy my camera? Like 3 months ago.
Mhm.
I started playing with it and downloaded Premiere. I don't know. It's a process. It's not.
Definitely.
Well, yeah,
Lots
it's
to
not
learn.
it's not something you pick up right away.
Yeah.
It takes years of practice. Like I've been editing for 5-6 years now, and I'm still terrible.
I wouldn't say that,
Sure,
Nathan. I wouldn't
I'm
say
above
that.
average.
Okay. Well, let's jump into how you guys started.
Okay. A long time ago, a long time ago, actually, I've been around video and film my whole life, I guess. My dad was, he still is a photographer, and so I sort of grew up around cameras and, making little films when I was a kid. And I don't know, I guess that kind of stuck with me through
Spark it up.
school. And yeah, I guess I really got into it probably, when I decided to go to film school, and did this lovely film degree, which didn't really get me too far in the way of learning much about video production. We did a lot of theory and stuff like that, and learned a lot about film history and all those, riveting things. But I guess, I don't know, I decided that I wanted to be a bit of an all-rounder, and I didn't want to just have to specialize in one area, which is really what film school kind of teaches you to do. So I decided the only way I was really going to be able to do that was to run a business in video production. And yeah, that's sort of what I got into, just doing lots of freelancing, and now, here we are today.
Here we are today.
Yeah.
That's cool. I always like the story of like school and real life and how those two meet, or what you do take away from it. Were there like some particular things that you did walk away and be like, I'm glad I did that for that reason? Or was it like, all right, that's in the past here?
You know, film school was great for meeting, like networking and meeting other people who are, into the same sort of thing as you. It also taught me what I didn't want to do, which was to work in the film industry. I worked on a couple of feature films, and just the hours were incredibly long, and we were working sort of all night sometimes and for weeks on end. And just the fact that you had to really start right from the bottom and work your way up and sort of prove yourself and that sort of thing. And, so I learned that that's what I didn't want to do, but I made, some good friends along the way, and I learnt more about myself and the sort of filmmaking that I wanted to do. And so I'd say it definitely served its purpose. And I wouldn't be where I am today if I hadn't gone through that and I hadn't gone to film school. So I think for some people it's a good road to take, but I sort of ended up here, and I don't think film school, I don't think it's necessary. Yeah.
How about you, Nate? How do you jump into this?
So I went to TRU originally as a Bachelor of Arts with a major in math.
Yeah, nice.
And then I realized that was stupid and that was not going to get me anywhere. So I dropped out and traveled, and I decided to go back because I wanted to go into marketing. So I got a Bachelor of Business major in marketing. Worked for a year for the Kamloops Blazers. Just wasn't happy with my position, so I left.
What were you doing there?
I was selling season tickets and ticket packages. Buy some tickets.
Wow, all right, nice.
And I always bugged them, like, we need to do better marketing. We need to have videos, profiles on the players. We need to do all this stuff. And they're like, no, you should just go out and sell tickets. And I was like, I can't do it without marketing. So, or I could, it was just making it a lot harder. So I left, and my good friend from high school, Joey McGarry, happened to leave his job at the time. He had gone to film school, graduated top of his class, had been a fantastic editor his entire life, and he was doing high-end wedding films, and it was just like, is this what I'm going to be doing? So he had moved back to Kamloops, and we just went for a beer one night, and we were like, why not? Let's do it. I'll run the business. It'll be great, and you can make everything look good. It'll be awesome. And we were, just kind of naive to the fact of everything went into business. So, we just decided to do it because there wasn't much competition at the time. And that was 8.5 years ago.
8.5.
Yeah.
Damn,
So.
and he's since left, and you've grown
He left
grown
2.5 years in, almost 3 years in, and I've been running it solo ever since. I have 4 full-time employees now, 1 part-time. He's full-time editor for TRU.
Yeah.
And has been for, I think, 3 or 4 years now.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's killing it. He's doing what he loves still. He's really found a good niche in there. So proud of the guy. Yeah.
Sweet.
I think running a business, I know for me, it's at the beginning it can be a bit of a struggle, and I know it's not for everyone, definitely. And as a creator, you want to be creating, right? You want to be just filming and editing and that sort of thing. And then when you throw the business side into it, it can really take away from what you love to do. So obviously it's not everyone wants to do that part of it. Some people do just want to create, and that's great for them.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the competitive advantages we did have starting a business is that a lot of times when you are a creative entrepreneur, it takes a lot, and there's just a bunch of stuff you don't know. I mean, even I didn't know it, but I'd learned enough in school to be able to pick that up. Like, okay, I know the basics of the account. I know where I have to go in order to find how to pay my GST properly, which I didn't do for the first 6 months, apparently, and then I got a bill at the end of the year. It was like, oh, God, what is this interest payment here?
Yeah. The only thing I feel like school gives you is the route to what not to do. I feel like I'm just coming out of school, and after school, like, okay, there's all these, and I don't want to do any of that. So it's like, I want my own route, and how you said, like, I want to go into owning my own business, and it is different, and they don't teach you that in school.
Yeah.
Which is you guys said, like having your businesses more like the ones that you are, where you have to be hands-on,
Yeah.
and also doing all the managing and being the owner of it while you do your vision and your ideas and whatever you guys wanna do.
Definitely, and that's one thing that film school wasn't able to teach me is how to run a business. And you know, I think that would be great for any film school, you know, to have a module on, you know, just teaching people how to do their bookkeeping
No
and
doubt.
the accounting side of things and invoicing, because yeah, when you get into it, there's so much to learn. And
Like marketing, quotes, contracts. Like I don't know how many times I had to be
Exactly.
burned by a contract until you're like, okay, finally, I think this is.
Oh, we should
solid.
rewrite this section.
Yeah.
Our first
Definitely.
proposal we used to send out, or like our legal part, was a sentence at the bottom of our invoices that says, "We can put this on our website." And then, you know, 3 or 4 years in, it became a couple sentences, and now we've got like a 7-page document that I had a lawyer actually create
Yeah.
that cost me a couple grand. But now I'm like, I have to have this. It's worth it,
Yeah.
because I've had people call me back and be like, "Well, you need to give us the footage." And I'm like, "Well, no, that's not what we do." But they're like, "Well, we didn't sign anything saying we couldn't have the footage."
Yeah.
So I'm like, "Well, no, now you're paying for the end product, and that's what you're paying for. If you want the extra footage, you have to pay this much money for it."
Yeah.
And it's so important the further you get in to have those things lined up.
Yeah. And again, like this is stuff that you learn all along the way. So, you know, when you start out, you're like, I want to make videos, like I want to, you know, tell stories and that sort of thing. And you want to be your creative self, and then you become a business owner and you learn all this other stuff that goes along with it. And it's fun, definitely fun, but it's not what you initially thought you were signing up
No.
for.
You do that initial planning stage, and you're like, okay, well, if I sell a video for $5 grand, I just have to do one a month. I'll make 50 grand a year, or I'll make 60 grand a year, and then it'll be great. It's like, well, no, well, that's 60 grand. Well, then you're gonna have to pay WorkSafe BC a percentage of that, and then you're gonna have to pay the government a percentage of that, and then you're gonna have to rent an office, and you're gonna have to pay for all these. You're gonna have to pay your $95 a month for Adobe. Like, you know, all these things are gonna add up, and that 50 grand you thought you were gonna make 60 grand, like, no.
Yeah. Video production is expensive. That's something else that we should bring up. It's it's not just buying a camera with a kit lens and going out and, you know,
I'm doing it, yeah.
shooting stuff that you like to shoot. It's forever, you know, it's forever changing in terms of the equipment and the gear. And we're always updating it, you know, year
Yeah.
after year. So, I mean, you end up with things you didn't even know that you ever knew you wanted. So,
Yeah, you're like, well, why do I need a lighting kit? I don't need a lighting kit.
yeah.
That makes no sense. Oh, it's so important. Why would I buy a good lav? Why would I need good sound? If you have terrible sound, your video is not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Sound is so important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, all things you learn along the way. You might make a video initially, and you might have terrible sound, and this is when you learn. Okay, I need new mics. I need I need to upgrade this stuff. So
And you think it's fine, but then you have your first client that's like, yeah, the sound's not good. You have to be like, oh, I need to adjust that.
yeah,
I thought it was fine.
Yeah.
But no, the client is right at that point.
yeah, definitely. And
Not
if
always right, but
yeah, the client's always right. I mean, as creative as we are, like, you know, if you're not pleasing your client, then you're not doing your job. So yeah, that's what they think is definitely very important.
Yeah.
We're always trying to please them.
Yeah.
Hey, Garvey, Harvey, do you wanna start? Jump on this? How did you start? We. So we have.
Oh yeah,
Harrison
nice,
Cam,
right?
which
Harrison
is
Cam, right?
that one right there.
What up,
This is
guys?
Harrison.
So,
Answer his question.
So how did you start? And what age are you there, bud?
Nope. Sorry, I was just. I got two things running here. I'm just making sure I can hear you as well. Yep. Okay. I am 19 years old, and I got into videoing actually about a year and a half, 2 years ago. I was always doing like the skiing and all that stuff, and like always loving the filming of like myself skiing and skateboarding and all the activities. So I decided to just buy a camera, see where it took me, and yeah, we're getting it. So I decided to make a company and run that on my own, but realizing that through all that, like literally the toughness of running stuff on your own and just like getting to the place where you want to be, it's a tough thing. But I joined with, we're getting it with Avenue Media House, and we're hitting it hard. So now I'm in that now, and it's a good place to be, man. We're loving it. 100%, man. So that's my story.
Nice, dude.
A little bit shorter, but
Yeah, that's great.
we're doing
Well,
it.
that's what happens when you're 19 years old, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
it's not.
That story'd be a lot longer if you
So,
were.
yeah, when I was 19,
Yeah.
I was math major. So
Yeah. With you guys, I want to jump into gear. What do you guys shoot in? What do you like? Where's your line? Where do you guys Sony, Canon? I know that Stacy goes with. What does she uses?
Nikon. She has Nikon and she just picked up a Fuji.
Yeah.
Oh wow, Fuji.
Very
Nice.
nice. Very
Yeah.
nice.
Photography
Fuji.
and whatnot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. Well, I think Nathan and I we're very loyal to Canon, both of us.
Mhm.
I think you have a Sony camera, but
We do have a Sony
yeah.
that we purchased off Matt Brooks at Lone Wolf that we use specifically for super slow motion shots that shoots 240 frames at 1080. So love that for specific stuff. I do like the Sony. I find it has a little bit of a green tinge to it.
Yeah, but you look kind of like you've got jaundice. I think if you're.
But yeah, we both shoot Canon, and majority of our lenses ours are Canon, a few Sigmas, and a couple Zeisses.
So yeah, I mean we're the same. We're largely Canon. I think I'm just so loyal to Canon ever since they brought out the Mark II, the 5D Mark II, years ago, and changed the whole game for us in cinematography. And so now I just don't think I could switch. I've looked at Sony, I've looked at Panasonic and what they're doing, and I think they're doing some amazing things, particularly with the mirrorless lines. But I love those Canon color profiles. Just
Yeah.
can't get away from them.
And I think as well for the market that we are in, is I've looked into getting an Ari Alexa Mini or a Red Dragon, or I don't know much about the Reds, but Reds just seem, there's this great YouTube video about why you shouldn't buy a Red. And it's every little cord costs an extra $112
Yeah.
for the privilege
The privilege.
of looking at your footage.
Of charging the same in
Yeah.
Kamloops.
So, and I think that especially with we just got a C200, and we can shoot Cinema Raw Light on that, which is very gradable footage. It chews up data, but it's pretty great. But even shooting 4K on the C200, it's that just even a little step up for cameras. And the majority of our clients in this region aren't going to know the difference between 1080 and 4K when they watch it. Because
Yeah.
how many people right now are probably watching
Yeah.
on?
And
Yeah.
that's the thing that you have to consider, I think, when buying a camera. I mean, we don't have a C200 yet. Gosh, I would
Yeah.
love to have one.
You'll get there.
I've been seeing the stuff you guys have been putting out, and it looks amazing. I would love to get my hands on that camera one day. We shoot with the C100. That's our primary camera, and then we also shoot with DSLRs as well. So the 5D Mark IV and the Mark III. And they're fantastic cameras, but as Nate said, you need to know what you're shooting for, and the reality is most of our clients are viewing things on this.
Yeah.
Sometimes an iPad, sometimes on a website, but again, quite small. Like, it's very rare that someone's going to be watching it on a 4K TV or that sort of thing. So, if you're shooting in 4K, there's definitely a purpose for it. And 4K looks amazing on a tiny phone screen.
Yeah.
You can just tell it's so crisp and sharp and everything. But 1080p, is what I primarily shoot in, just because I know what my audience is generally watching on. So.
Yeah, we'll only shoot 4K if it's for a specific client who asked that. Like, we just we're wrapping up a commercial for BCLC, and they're like, we want it to be 4K. We're like, okay, great, we can do that now. A video I don't know if you got the links I shared with you. Yeah. Yeah, but
So
one of them-
we've got the bottoms one.
Okay.
I don't know if that falls into what
That
you're about to say,
wouldn't
but
be one of them. But we did one for the city, the first link that had the password. And that's like, we're playing this at BC Lions games on their Jumbotron. So we're like, okay,
Yeah.
we're gonna shoot
Yeah.
this.
It's gotta be big
Cimarron
boy.
Yeah,
lens.
yeah.
Yeah. And I watched it on my own 4K TV, like usually just watching on our computers or phones. Like, oh, this looks good. I watched it on TV. And it's like,
It's
oh,
something
we
that
made that.
Nice.
That was really good.
Made that. Yeah.
yeah, it's something that I didn't used to notice. Like I used to watch all these YouTubers, and you're like, okay, like it looks fine, it's good. And then one day put it on my TV, and I was like, oh, not the same.
Yeah.
Like, there's a huge difference, which is how you said, you need to know your audience and need to know what they're gonna be looking after.
Yeah.
So you can give them the best.
Definitely, yeah, for sure. And yeah, I mean, if I was doing like TV commercials and that sort of thing, like Nate does a few of those, you know, I would look to shoot in 4K because that's, you know, you want your audience to see the best thing possible. And if they're watching it on TV, then definitely 4K is the way to go.
But it does. Yep. A lot of companies just aren't as willing to spend that money on TV anymore. 'Cause, I mean, you can reach such a wider audience, but by doing something like this, but I mean, when they do, it's nice to be able to be like, okay, yeah, we can do
Yeah,
it
we can
this
offer that.
way. Funny because when we first started, the two things that we were going to do the most, like that I built the business around, like my whole business plan, I went to BDC to get our loan so we could buy a couple lenses and a lighting kit and a tripod. I was like, yeah, we're going to do commercials and we're going to sell them for like $5 to $10 grand. We're going to do like 2 months.
Big dreams, big dreams.
We're going to be so rich. And we're going to do like weddings every weekend. And this is back when we did like full wedding films, and we gave them a DVD, and it came in a box.
40-minute film.
Yeah, 40-minute film. It was disgusting, but we didn't have to worry about like music rights at that time. And
So you just had all the bangers in there, just
Yeah.
like the greatest songs of all time.
yeah, oh man, yeah. It started with a song. I forget what it's called, but Joe used to say you could put the song to anything, and it would fit well.
Nice, the
It's like,
chameleon.
for you, for me, da-na-na-na.
All the classics.
I'll have to find it later, and then you'd have a Coldplay song or two in there,
yeah.
and then a party song at the end. Yeah, we used to deliver a little box that had a screen cap that we took on the DVD cover, and then like a box of their favorite candy, and then some tissues, a bag of popcorn. Used to be a thing.
The
Now,
whole package.
yeah. Now it's like, here's your link. Thanks.
Here's your USB.
Yeah.
You know, which, I mean, a link is way better. They're probably just going to lose the USB at some stage if they don't back it up. So, yeah, the game has changed a lot. And particularly with weddings. And you guys are still doing weddings as well.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah,
not.
I feel like you didn't finish that story. You're telling us about all your
Basically,
dreams.
we were gonna make
yeah.
so much money doing commercials on TV7, and then I tried to, sell my first commercial for $5 grand, and we're like, who's this guy? Like, who invited him here? Like, really? No. Like, oh, we get it for free from the TV station. So like
Exactly,
their
yeah.
budgets were gonna be, $500. Like, oh, I have
Just
to
for
take a
ad
zero
space.
off what my expectations
Yeah.
were. So that, like, we do some commercials, like I said, but I'd say 80% of our content is online, like promotional stuff, informational videos, hype pieces, if you will, and then 7 to 10% weddings, and I expected that to be like 40 to 50%. And after doing weddings for 8.5 years, I'm very thankful for that
Yeah.
because they are tiring. They're a lot of work for especially for us, because we're like the excess. We're that thing that you don't
It's
really
like
need.
it's the nice to have.
Yeah.
It's not the must have.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
everyone needs to be fed.
Yes.
And everyone needs a DJ. I mean,
Yeah.
we've seen like the iPod wedding, and sometimes it works out okay, but most of the time it doesn't.
Yeah.
But you need to have a location. You need to have a bartender. You need to have cutlery for everyone. You don't need a video.
But we create the memories.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're the thing I've heard the most from past brides is we're so glad we spent that money
Yeah.
on you, because you ended up like being the thing that made our wedding.
Definitely. I think it's the number one thing we hear is, the regret if brides and grooms don't end up getting a film. It's the one regret that they have on their wedding day. And I've heard that time and time again from, people when I turn up at weddings and they say, oh, I wish I had a video and that sort of thing.
And I feel like it's
Yeah.
going in that direction too, with how much more like video we're seeing out there in the world. People are like putting a little bit more value on the idea of capturing the time they're having or that
Totally.
moment
Yeah.
in life.
Definitely.
So I think like that will get better for videography. I first see that being the case.
Because it also, when we started, it was a 40-minute wedding film we used to create. It was all the speeches. It was the entire ceremony. And it wasn't until like halfway in, like we used to do the trailer, but that trailer was everyone's favorite thing.
Right.
And then like, oh, why don't we just start doing that?
Right.
Definitely. And, you know, the highlight film really became the thing that people wanted to see because it really is the best moments of the day, you know, combined into one short film that you are going to watch on social media. You can send your friends the link to it.
And your friends will actually watch it. They're not going to sit and watch a 40-minute recap
if
of
you
your...
if you sat there and clicked play on a 40-minute video, there's no way you'd make it to the end.
Unless it's
No
like
way.
the most incredible wedding of
Who
all
has
time,
that
like
time?
helicopters.
Who has enough
like,
time on their lunch break to watch a 40-minute video? Let's be honest.
So, and that's but we still give I don't know about you, but we still give the bride and groom their footage at the end. Because I'm like, what am I going to do with this? I mean, for a lot of corporate clients, like maybe there's some resale value, and maybe it's something we could use down the line and we want the rights to.
Yeah.
But for bride and groom, it's like, I can't go sell this. It's just going to sit there taking up hard drive space, so I might
That's
just give it to
interesting.
you and just delete the rest of it. Because then you're going to have your speeches still. You're going to have your ceremony still. Because we have you mic'd up, and you're going to watch. I know, like, Roz and Kyle watch their stuff like every year. Sit there and like, oh yeah, remember that? I missed that part.
Yeah.
So it's nice to be able to give that to the bride and groom as well. Because I mean, we're not gonna do anything with it.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely offer it if they want it. I mean, my biggest thing for my couples is, you know, I tend to say to them, well, you know, I've looked through all of that footage. That's you know what made it into the film. That's the best stuff. So if you want to sit there and look through your raw footage, that you can do that. That's fine. We'll give it to you. But you know, that's the stuff that was left over that didn't make it into the film. So and we give full speech edits and a ceremony edit and that sort of thing as well. So you know, they have that to look back on. But the rest of the stuff that we get, it really is, for me, it's the stuff that didn't make it into your film. It wasn't the best of the best shots.
But it also might make them appreciate what you did a
Oh,
little bit
yeah,
more, because they're gonna
totally.
look through and see just all the junk you filmed. Where
Totally, yeah.
like, oh, the camera fell over.
I forgot to hit record or
yeah,
stop recording.
or I started
Yeah.
recording and I put the camera down and it sat there for 13 minutes.
I know they might start to look down on us, Nathan. I think we.
Well, that's kind of like photographers when you like photographers aren't about to give all their photos because there's so much, not like garbage, but there's so much just stuff that takes away from what your clients are ideally thinking that the day looked like.
Definitely.
Instead of like Uncle Joe just like picking his nose in the back of the background of a shot for 15 minutes, like that doesn't help how you shot. That doesn't help them see what you do in the light that perhaps it should.
That's true, and I mean, but as Nathan mentioned, it's good to be able to give your client the footage, because then like it kind of takes it off of you. If they were to call you back in 5 years time and say, hey, like I've done something with my footage, do you like, or I've done something with my video, do you have a copy of it? We can kind of say, oh, well, we gave it to you, we gave you all the footage, and that kind of like takes it off of us.
Because I have accidentally deleted footage before. I
Yeah.
knocked over a hard drive and
goodness.
deleted an entire wedding, and I had to tell the bride that, and like there was parts of it that didn't make the cut. Like I'd got her a trailer, but she was expecting to pick up her raw footage, and there was a part like her husband sang to her for the very first time, and he was a terrible singer, but it was super cute, and I had just basically the hard drive was sitting on the table, and I had to reach across the table for my mouse. And by the way, terrible hard drive design, vertical. What are you doing? And I just touched it, and it went, and everything was gone. It was a 2 terabyte hard drive, and fortunately, I had everything else backed up except for that one wedding, and that was a very tough conversation to have.
I remember that shortly, like after that happened, you told me that story, and then I've since like reiterated our backup plan, because after I'm like, okay, what's your backup plan? How do you save, like the take-home hard drive when you're telling me about like, we back that up however often, and we take that home, and then there's something not in your studio space. And then Harrison and I we just purchased a whole bunch of hard drives, and we're like, okay, we're going to do it right here. Like we double back and have one for home, and because
it has to be your insurance policy, because no company in the world no insurance company will insure your footage.
Yeah.
It's an intangible thing. They'll insure your hard drive, but they won't insure your footage because, I mean, that to you is worth tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
To them, it's nothing.
Yeah.
It's a $500 drive.
Yeah.
And data recovery costs a lot. I had a kind of a similar situation where I had, it was kind of like a drive dock and like with 5 drives in it, and a couple of them just stopped working, and had to send it off to a data recovery place, and I think it cost about $6,000 to get, and we didn't even get everything back. It was bits and pieces of different projects and things like that, and it's heartbreaking when it happens. And yeah, I mean, we had a backup in place, and it just, you know, it failed us, and so yeah, it's unfortunate.
It's fortunate though that technology has gotten a lot better,
Oh,
and that
yeah.
like a backup drive, a 2 terabyte drive from, you know, Staples or Best Buy is $90.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
opposed to the first cards we bought, I think, were like 16 gig that
Oh,
read
yeah.
at 30 megabytes a second,
Yeah.
and those were probably a couple $100.
Yeah.
But as you said, like as your company grows, your storage needs get higher and higher, and then like
Yeah, I
that
shudder to
2
think how much
terabyte really
storage
doesn't
you guys
do
have.
much at that
Yeah.
point.
Well, this even like was scaling up because now we bought the C200. Like, okay, that's great. We want to shoot on this 4K cinema raw light. Well, when we're shooting that, we have a 256 megabyte card, and that shoots 17 minutes of footage.
Wow.
And usually, like if you're shooting just standard 4K, it shoots about a gig a minute. So a 64 gig card is going to last you about an hour. But yeah, 256 gigs will chew through in 17 minutes. Now, as well as that, so we have this new fancy $200 or this C200. Now my next thing I have to buy is a $10,000 computer to run the footage
run it.
on, because we're still running on our $5,500 computer that just doesn't cut it anymore because it
That's
can't
wild, though.
handle it. Oh my god.
Just comes back to all those expenses that you
Poor
didn't expect.
poor thing over here, eh? Running
Yeah, when
a
you
successful
upgrade, it's
company,
like, yeah.
staff.
Yeah.
Yeah, scaling up.
Yeah, it's just that next phase though, like,
Mhm.
you know, and yeah, you end up with all this extra storage. You know, you need extra storage capacity. It's crazy how much, you know, storage you need for video. I chat to my dad about this all the time because he's photography, and you know, it's just I think to myself, why didn't I become a photographer? You know, it's just so much less storage space, but you have to have it.
Yep.
I think we're at around 25 to 30 terabytes of footage total in 8.5 years, and
Wow.
I think a quarter of that is within the last year because of just the cameras.
Those
Production.
cameras, yeah.
Yeah, we just bought a 24 terabyte hard drive. Like,
24 T's.
yeah,
That's
it's,
pretty solid.
it's great actually. It's
Which one is that?
it's the G Technology Speed Shuttle, and
Right.
it's amazing. It's Thunderbolt 2, and I mean, it's great. We're just everything's Thunderbolt these days. Like, you know,
It's-
you have
yeah.
to. And again, you need speed, right? When you're dealing with 4K footage, especially, you know, when you need to run it from a drive to
You're
your
working
computer,
off of
you
it.
just need that speed. And yeah, it's an extra RAM for the you know, the iMac, and yeah,
It's so
never
funny though
ends.
that even comparing it though to when we started the company, it was actually even higher before, because we used to have to capture tapes, and we captured them in ProRes. So, which is basically the we're shooting an hour long of footage would be 500 gigs. So, and you'd have to capture each tape like by the minute. You'd plug it in. Like, I just shot an hour on this videotape. I have to spend an hour
Yeah.
capturing that footage instead of drag and drop. It takes 5 minutes on
This
the
is
Thunderbolt.
before,
Thank
this
goodness
is
we're
before
not
our
in
time.
those
Yeah,
days
man.
at all.
Holy
Oh,
shit.
Yeah, this is actually it's funny. You know, when I came out of film school, it was all mini DV, as Nathan was saying, and we even shot on 16mm film when I was back at film school,
Fucking
and
A.
that just kind of gives you an idea. And then when, you know, a few years later, Canon come out with this 5D Mark II, and as I said, it just changed the game. And now, you know, it really started all the other brands, you know, coming out with DSLRs that were made for video. And yeah, but ever since then, it's been quite a journey
No
on
doubt.
this road of upgrading and, you know,
And
buying
it's,
new
the
gear.
journey's not
Yeah.
the journey. Like, once you get a little bit into, then you're like, okay, there's actually a lot more that I'm gonna need or want down the line, and then also upgrading everything that you already had. Every
and selling
So
what you
often.
have to buy new gear.
Yeah, shit.
You get employees, and then they're like, "Oh, we got to buy this thing. We need the shoulder rig. We need this glide track.
Yeah.
we
Yeah,
Need
need
this
they
gimbal."
they have their wants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, all right, are we
Yeah.
gonna use it? Okay, cool.
Okay, but
Yeah.
Okay,
Nah.
hold on before you jump in here. Yo, Harrison, can you get this thing up here so we can see any kind of social?
And well, I wanted to jump also into now that you guys have all this gear, have all these that you need. How important is gear against the story? Because I believe that part of it is you can have the best, but if your storytelling part of
Absolutely.
it's not like what's your background? Because like how is it like when it comes to cameras and when it comes to the footage, I don't have a lot of experience. I just started. I've always liked it. I like cinema and I like movies, and I've always been like really interested in the story, and like I follow a few like creators and a lot of like the big movie directors. So I have that experience, and there's a lot of like what works and what it doesn't, and I've seen great things with the lowest production to also the highest. So like, what's your take on that? Like,
I
what's-
think you really need to have your story and have your shot set out. It has to actually capture some sort of emotion with your audience, and I think there's a really good YouTube channel that doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately, but it was called Every Frame a Painting, and it was about how there's a really great one on what is Bayhem, which is like why is Michael Bay popular, and the way he edits and shoots things is this is a cool shot and this is a cool cut.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that hits here. It's just that looks cool, and I know that looks cool, and I know that cut is cool. So if I just do that, and that's why his videos are so emotionless. So, and I think that's something that I learned from starting the company with Joey. Is a lot of editors, I'm sure you're this way as well. We edit off of the way it feels. You know when to cut and you know when to feel, and it's just by practice. And everyone has their own preference, but it's just the way that you would want it. You would want to view it, and how you feel it would look great. And I think that really helps resonate with your audience, if that makes sense.
Definitely. I agree with Nathan. You know, how you feel is a big part of it. And for me, storytelling is absolutely everything. I think, you know, it doesn't matter what gear you have, you get by with the gear, you know, that you have the means to,
Yeah.
you know, to have. And, but you need to have your story down. It's what makes a film. It's what, you know, drives impact and emotion, and you know, it's how to get a message across, essentially. If you don't have a story, if your film isn't going anywhere, people aren't going to pick up that message that you're trying to send to them. So yeah, no matter what camera you have, if it's, you know, the lowest end DSLR that, you know, you can get your hands on, as long as you set out, you know, to tell a good story, and you've put thought into it, you've planned it out, you know, it's going to be successful.
Yeah, I mean, you can even film on the cameras on iPhones these days are
exactly.
better than the cameras that we started filming on.
That's true.
Like we started on a Rebel T2i, two Rebel T2is that don't work anymore. We sold them, I think, for $50, and they're the 1080 or the iPhone shoot 4K. There was my old editor Calvin, who works for us part time now. He put a video in the short film festival that we sponsored that he went to Japan and he shot it 100% on his iPhone 7, I think, and it's just because the shots he got were great. He just framed it incredibly well, and it just the way he edited it, like to the music, what he chose was incredibly well chosen, and it just really resonated with the audience. And he won like an audience award for cinematography, and even though he wasn't in charge of the lighting department. It's a joke.
I think the tools that we use, you know, when you really get into it and you start running a business and that sort of thing, obviously we use a lot of gear like gimbals and sliders and dollies and lights, and you know, there are a lot of tools that go into making these cinematic shots,
And they
things
add like a
that.
little bit. Every one of
They
them adds
do.
just a little bit
They
more.
add a little bit of an element, but you can make something that's, you know, powerful without those tools. You
Absolutely.
can. You know, it's just, again, it comes back to having, you know, a good storytelling ability and being able to, choose the right music for your film, and
Edit properly to
edit
it.
properly. Yeah, use the peaks and troughs in your soundtrack, to drive drive your story and things like that. And so yeah, I mean, the tools are great. We all love gear. It's fantastic. We wouldn't be in this industry if we didn't. But you don't have to have the best of the best, and you can still be a fantastic storyteller.
Yeah, because we used to get by telling a story like that with DSLRs and just a little lav and one light, and like the more gear you have, the longer it takes to set up. I was out there shooting a video for BC Housing recently, and now it takes me like 5 to 8 minutes to set up for an interview when I'm running solo. And before, it just used to be like, okay, I'm gonna plunk this mic on you, I'm gonna plug it in, and all right, I'm gonna stand here and ask questions. That's great. But I mean, even like as you guys know, based on this setup, that it takes some time to sit here and test and be like, okay, now where are the lights? Where do we need to put this?
Definitely, and this is a studio setup. When we're out on location, there might be other things to contend with. We
So
might
much
have
harder.
might be blowing a gale, like we might have crazy windstorm or
This is
bright
actually
sunshine.
This is a perfect segue
yeah.
into the video that you sent.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I would love to.
So I don't know if you want to set up the video or do you want us to just roll it?
Yeah, if you
beforehand?
want to play it, and then I'll sort of talk about it afterwards. That
All
would be
right,
great.
perfect. So Harrison, whenever you're ready, Holmes.
But yeah, first thing, bag heavy, and bag out at the back, and we'll have trees can actually use pink here because it's not straight.
So,
Perfect.
tell us
So-
about it.
So just to lead on from what we were talking about before, in terms of turning up to a shoot, and you're thrown quite a few curveballs and things you didn't expect. This particular shoot was quite a challenging one. I mean, the company who hired us basically told us that they wanted a cinematic film. They wanted it to be inspirational. These are kind of like the buzzwords I was given in the brief. And I'm thinking, yeah, we can do that because, they're all about planting, thousands and thousands of trees and helping the environment, and that's what they're all about. And I thought, oh, yeah, this is going to be fantastic. Like, we get to be out in nature and we get to film these people planting trees. It's going to be really inspirational. And we turned up, and I mean, I've never been on a tree planting shoot before. I don't know what I expected, to be honest. And you turn up with thousands of dollars worth of camera equipment, gimbals, and all that sort of thing. And we find that the terrain is just, it's a mountainside. It's really uneven. It's just holes. You can fall into it. Rocks, fallen trees, tree stumps, all sorts of stuff. And and we're working with tree planters who are on the clock.
Yeah.
So we didn't really have anyone.
Can't be like, set up this, if you could do that again,
We
just a
couldn't
different
direct
angle.
them. Basically, they're
Yeah.
they're planting trees. I think every 3 seconds they have to plant a tree in order to make any money. Tree planting.
I tree planted for two summers, and the moment you sent me that, I was like, okay, for sure. It's gnarly. And
Yeah.
definitely depending on the day that you're up there, like, the terrain is not friendly to you.
Yeah.
As you saw, like, a bunch of those people had, like, duct tape around their boots because, like,
Yeah.
it's pretty gnarly, and the
Oh,
bugs
yeah.
are bad, and then seeing you up there, like, with the backpack, I'm sure, and, like, all your shit.
And that's the thing, as you say, these people had like holes in their clothes because they'd obviously been doing it all season, and they've been out in this crazy weather, and you're out on a mountaintop, so it can start raining at any second. You can get snow up there, all sorts of stuff, and we just turned up and we just weren't expecting it, and they just took off. As soon as they unwrapped those trees and
Yeah.
packed them in their sacks kind of thing. They just took off, and I'm trying to run after them with my gimbal. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking cinematic shots, cinematic. And while stumbling and falling over big tree branches and all of that sort of thing. And about halfway through, about an hour into it, we did get rained on, and torrentially rained on. And I'm grabbing at my backpack, trying to grab, camera protection. We had all sorts of plastic sort of camera bags and stuff. Luckily, we were fully prepared because the gear really would have suffered. And that's the thing you need to think about as well when you go out onto a shoot. You need to be completely prepared with everything that you might encounter, you know, and
which makes that kind of train a lot harder too, if you have to have all those little tidbits
definitely
to protect yourself.
And the bags we were carrying were heavy. They had everything in them. I had I had the Mark IV on the gimbal, and then I also had my C100 with me and a monopod. So I sort of had the monopod on my backpack while holding the gimbal, and then I had the stand on the other arm. And
I saw the photo you sent wasn't cropped to what this needed, but it was such a perfect example of like how technology has changed, especially with that Ronin, having to have that stand just like with you at all times to operate.
Yes, we recently bought the Ronin S. We traded in the Ronin M, largely because of the stand issue. It does kind of hold you back in a situation like that. When you need the most freedom that you could possibly have. And, we got through that shoot. It ended up, it was a great experience. I'm happy to say that I survived it, and I actually had a really good time.
It's a beautiful flick too.
Thank you.
That you put
Thank
together.
you so much. Yeah, I think the music really helps that one as well. It doesn't have any speaking, well, not much in it. So, the music and the words kind of set the feeling for you. But no, it's a fantastic experience. But be prepared. That's all I can say. If you're heading out to a shoot and you don't know what to expect, and the client hadn't been out to a tree planting shoot either, so they couldn't really tell us what to expect. You've just got to prepare for the worst and expect the best. So yeah.
Nice. How about you, Nate? In terms of like tough shoots or worse shoots, without mentioning any names, or like, on the low end, like was a tough time.
When I wrote 2 years in the company and we had a shoot, someone managed to book a shoot in China. I have no idea how. But it wasn't really tough. Like we had to deal with humidity, and it was so hot all the time, and that was a big thing. But we couldn't afford to buy a new camera, and one of our cameras was slightly busted. The card reader didn't work. The only way it would work was if I shoved a piece of paper in at the correct angle and then wedged the card holder closed.
Nice.
It would push it against the card reader properly so that we could shoot.
Oh my God.
So we're trying to get these shots that the people at this university have set up like 100 kids to walk out at the same time and walk in different directions just so we get one shot. And I don't know if the camera's going to work.
Oh my
so
God.
Joey's there on his rollerblades, like cruising around, getting his like dolly cam shots. And I'm sitting there with the T2i, putting it on, turning it on and off, and wedging the paper in at different angles to try and get this piece of paper to get this card reader to work. That was probably one of the hardest, most stressful things I've had.
Did you get it then?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, the video came out great.
Nice.
They loved it.
I think if you look closely at any videographer, who works in the field, who works on location, if you look at their gear, it's going to be taped up with all sorts of stuff. Like we just, when you're in rough conditions, your gear does suffer. It really takes a hit.
Yeah.
But you've got to have lots of tape to patch it up, and you'll be fine.
I've also had a client that was for an animation project. I told them, they're like, hey, we want this 2-minute animation video. I was like, cool, we just need to get the script down, and then once we get that, we can start an animation. And they're like, what do you mean? No, you animate it, and then we'll write the script.
Oh my God.
I'm like, that's not how it works. And then they wrote a 4-minute script, and I was like, well, if we're going to animate that, it's going to be this much. And I'm like, well, why? You told me it was going to be this much. And that was probably one of the most giant headaches. The closest I've come to firing a client. Being
Wow.
no, this is not worth my time.
Yeah.
Because you're not respecting the way that we know we do this for a living, and you're just not listening to the feedback I'm trying to give you.
Yeah.
Just kind of goes to show how important pre-production is, and I know we spend a lot of time on pre-production before anything gets shot. You know, sometimes I have clients who are like, oh, let's, you know, can we just get in and shoot it next week, or, you know, shoot it tomorrow? And I'm always trying to sort of push back and say, no, we really need to make sure that we've got everything locked down, you know, in terms of a script, in terms of, you know, a storyboard or a shot list, you know, if that's what we need. Before we go out and shoot anything. In the end, it's going to cost the client less because we've done everything the right way and we know what we're going out to shoot. There's no real surprises in that regard, and we're going to be able to stick to our budget if we're fully prepared. So
More often than not, the client that says, hey, can you do this quickly? It'll be super easy. That's going to be the biggest headache that you're going to have to deal with.
definitely.
No doubt.
That is the
Yeah.
one that's going to spiral out of control.
I can speak to that on like DJ too, or like audio visual or anything like that. It's like, oh no, you just have to do this. It's like, and in their mind, it is actually pretty easy. Like, of course, that's not going to take a lot of time. It's like show up, but no.
And I
You
feel-
just hit record and it's going to be fine.
And I feel like it also comes with a lot of expectation. People feel that it's an easy job. Like, it doesn't matter which industry. A lot, like, people that have never done it and have been close to it believe that it's probably so easy. It's probably just how you said, it's like a quick thing to do when people expect something to come out great without the work. And then that's what I wanted to ask you guys when it comes to people expecting you to do something where it's not like backed up by work, or when it's not backed up by for example, the way you do things. A lot of people, I feel like, I want these kind of shots and I want this kind of work, when you really work in a different way. Like, how does it work when they come to you and tell you all that? Like, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of experience that you've had where it's just like, so no.
Yeah, I mean, and that happens a lot, and I think, you know, it's hard as a creative if you do have your own style, and a lot of us do, you know, when a client comes to us and says, I want it done like this, and, you know, I definitely in the past, there have been people who have approached me and they've wanted to do something, and, you know, I've thought about it and I've sort of tried to make it work in the beginning stages, and I have turned around and sort of said, you know what, I don't think I'm the best person to do this job, because it doesn't, you know, it doesn't fit with my style, or it, you know, it doesn't quite work with, you know, how I like to create. And yeah, I mean, other times we have been able to make it work. You know, with other projects, you can come to a compromise, and you can sort of help the client understand your way of, you know, how you do things. And,
Yeah,
and
like, everybody has different styles, which is like
Definitely.
photography, videography. Like,
mhm.
I understand. Like,
Yeah.
it's just like, it's funny because, like, we were talking about that, and it's just like how people is like, well, I want it to look this way. Like, but if you're not that person, normally it ends up looking better when it's through your view, through your ideas, or the way you do things, than people telling you, oh, it should be done this way.
I think a lot of people, I can't speak for Nate, but I think a lot of people who come to us, they come to us because they like our style, and they've seen the videos that we create, and they've seen the storytelling, you know, that we do, and so they kind of know what to expect from us. And a lot of my clients kind of give me free rein in the beginning to go and, you know, to create something, and then the feedback that I get is usually after I've sent them the first draft, and they might have a few changes, and, you know, sometimes I might not agree with those changes, but I have to listen to my client. It all comes back to, you know, the client knows what they want, and that's where compromise really does come in, because they might want to change something, and you've done it that way for a reason. And sometimes it's just explaining, well, this is why I've done that. And other times, you know, you change it because, you know, if they really want it to be different, then, you know, they're the one who's going to have it on their website or on their social media feed. So they need to be happy.
I think kind of 2 points with that. One of is that the benefit of having multiple editors. So each one of them has a little bit different style, so I can pick and choose which editor I want to work on a specific project, because I think that their style is going to work best to that. And then we can adapt a little bit in their way. The second thing is something that I learned from Joey is give them what they didn't know they wanted. So you edit it and you add your own little style that they're like, oh, that's really good. I didn't think of that. So you're meeting their expectations, but you're also adding in your own little flair that makes it a little more personal, a little more emotional, and still grabs the audience in, and keeps it something that's your edit as opposed to as well as theirs.
Right.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, you need to be happy with your work as well.
Yeah.
You can't put
It is a
some-
reflection of you.
Exactly, exactly right. And you can't put something out into the world that you just think, no, that's second rate. You can't attach your name and your logo to that if you're not happy with it. So, yeah. Bit of give and take.
Speaking of one of your editors, maybe this is a perfect opportunity to roll your film
Oh, okay.
that you sent to me so late.
Yeah,
That I was still
because
able
we
to
were
get it
moving
in.
as I was installing
Been
flooring.
busy.
Harrison, could you cue that
We're
puppy
doing the
up?
bottoms one.
The bottoms one.
Okay.
Everybody's making way.
Harrison's putting up number one. He's the number one champ. And we're back.
So that was it was a fun one. It was a challenging one because we had to go up there and do so many shoots and so many different style of shoots. And it was great to support Nathan, who is the owner of Bottoms, or the manager of Bottoms. I went to high school with him and I graduated with him. So it was good to go up there and, one, support a friend, and two, do a place. I actually used to work at Bottoms about 10 to 12 years ago.
What'd you do up there?
I was the line cook.
Oh, nice.
That was back when their food was terrible. They used to have pre-cooked burgers. Like you would sit at the bar and order a burger and a beer, and your burger would get there first, and that's not a joke.
Wow.
That actually happens. Not anymore. Not anymore. Now their food is.
Letting us in on all the secrets.
Yeah.
Well, now they have like 3 restaurants, I think.
Yeah, exactly. So, it was fun. It was challenging, and to get just such a diversity of shots, going up and just getting your cool food shots, getting your bartending shots, like late night we're partying, your like après crew, which your 30 to 40-year-olds who want to come in and hang out after they've been skiing all day. It was, and then the music rights. That's one of the most we've ever had to spend on a song, because we got that off Music Bed, and then for anything corporate, that's a good $200 bill right there, $250 bill. But Nate got back to me after that came out, and he used it as a recruiting tool when he went down to Australia to recruit new servers and
No
cooks for
kidding.
Hill. And
Oh,
he said he
word.
got like 1,000 resumes.
No
1,000
kidding.
was 300. It was 100. So I probably way overshot with 1,000.
Thousands
Sounds,
nice.
sounds great.
Yeah, it sounds great. There's a lot.
But he was
It
like,
worked.
killed it. It worked.
Yeah.
And that's always a good feeling to hear, to know that the effort that you put in did its job.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. Every Aussie wants to work on a ski hill too, so show them that, they'll just,
Talking about that.
This is perfect, yeah.
Yeah, it's perfect. My sister's boyfriend, he's from Australia, and he's moving to some peaks to work on the ski hill.
Yeah.
Of course.
If ever I feel homesick, I just have to go up to some peaks.
No
so,
doubt.
Yeah, I'm like, because she was worried, and I was like, no. She's like, well, I don't know if she's gonna meet anyone. Like, There's a lot of people from Australia
Oh,
living up
yeah.
there. It's like,
Yeah.
don't worry about it.
Yeah. Oh, I love filming up at Sun Peaks. It's yeah, it's great being around all the Australians.
Sounds like home.
Yeah.
So Harrison, I think it's probably time for your question of the day. Nice. He's been working hard on
Could
this
do that.
one.
Yeah, did some thinking on this one. Okay. Got it written down here, although I know it. So how do you guys feel about the...
Hold on, did you roll the pre-roll?
Yeah, you're gonna
Oh my god, I'm getting into it. Okay, let's, you gotta give me a second here. And we're...
Yeah.
You've got your worried face on, Harrison.
So, my question for you guys is, how do you guys feel about the Sam Colder style?
Interesting choice. All right.
What's your views on that?
I actually have to say, I think he's very talented. I watch some of his videos. I don't watch them all the time, but you know when they pop up on my Instagram feed and that sort of thing. Yeah, I think his transitions are amazing. It's more than just something moving past the camera, you know, and you know transitioning from one shot to another. They're very well thought out. He obviously puts, you know, there is a lot of planning and there is a lot of pre-production that goes into his shoots, I can tell. As far as the whole, well, not the whole industry, but a lot of people in the industry trying to copy his style.
Sorry, just
Yeah.
because I saw the question come up.
Yeah.
What is the style? What is it?
I don't even know if there's a name for it, to be honest.
Or how would
I
you
describe
explain
it?
Yeah.
I think it's fast paced. It's he uses sound in a really good way, you know, to emphasize certain camera movements or you know just fast paced motion and that sort of thing. You know, to transition you from one scene to another. There's a lot of like cutting from very close up, you know, images and shots to very far away, you know, aerials and things like that,
And
which I think is great.
He'll use a lot of like camera movement before those transitions to like kind of emphasis going, you know, further or like taking a step back from far to wide
And there's obviously a lot of After Effects and visual effects and things in it as well. So lots of like he loves luma fades and you know all sorts of things. Like I'm not going to sit here and spout out all the different techniques that he uses. I'm familiar with a few of them, but he's great. Even the way that he places text in a scene is very well done as well. And I think he's really come out with a style that people are wanting to follow. You know, there's a lot of people in our industry right now who are huge Sam Colder fans and are shooting just like him or trying to emulate his style. And, you know, I think he's done very well for himself in gaining that following. And, you know, his videos are great for things like travel. You know, they really tell the story of, you know, going to a new place and, you know, seeing a new culture and, you know, experiencing. It's kind of like a, you know, he hits all the senses, you know, with what he's able to do with the sound and the fast-paced effects and things like that. I don't think you can use that style for every video. I think it's, you know, for some videos it's fantastic, but I think it's, you know, it's a style that's best suited to certain types of videos. You know, it's, yeah, and it's storytelling in its own right.
and it works well for him because he's also like a social influencer. So if he can
Definitely.
document how he goes about life in
Yeah.
that way, it's like the most ideal.
Yeah.
Well, at least it resonates with the people that are on social media.
For sure. Just quickly, I just want to say, you know, I think some of the techniques that he uses, from what I've seen in more recent times, are being overused now by a lot of filmmakers.
Most definitely.
Yeah, and I think I think that'll change. I think it's a bit of a phase that we're going through at the moment. You know, it's like when drones came out, everyone was like, oh, we've got to put drone footage in everything. Drones. Let's make it all about the drone.
Before regulations.
Exactly. You know, and it's just that new phase of filmmaking, and we see it every few years. You know, a few years ago it was a different style, and now we've, like, motion graphics became really big at one point, and now we still see those today. They're evolving. You know, there's different styles of them. I think filmmaking goes through these phases, you know, every year or so, and you know, I think he's got some great techniques. I just think, you know, if you want to try them out, fantastic. Just don't overuse them, because I think that's what we're seeing in a lot of videos, especially newcomers to the industry, just like to overuse these transitions, and I find myself thinking, where's the story? What message were you trying to communicate with that video? Because all I saw were these effects and transitions and things like that. So,
and if not a message, like an emotion or something past, just like visually.
Exactly right. And, you know, I think you need to have that powerful emotive, you know, message in. Well, it depends what kind of film you're making, obviously, but I think, you know, don't forget about that element, because it is a very important one. Don't overuse those effects.
Well articulated.
What she said?
Yeah.
I
Great job there.
I'm the business guy. I honestly don't know what that is.
Yeah.
But if it's from what I'm getting from it, I think that I agree. If it's what I think it is, I agree that it does work better for travel and tourism kind of videos. I know we've used it for that specific thing. I know that, like, Joseph's really great at it, and he implements it at specific times and at the right time. It's based off a feel. He's not going to do that kind of cut to do that kind of cut. It's, hey, it worked right here. For instance, in one of the last wedding films we just released, it was so windy the camera blew over. But
nice, you used it.
But he managed to use that as a cut, and it worked perfectly. So yeah, the whole whip pan thing is what I'm kind of thinking.
Yeah, it's all sorts of things, really. Like, it's almost every transition in the book that, you know, apart from the star wipe.
Which Nate has been known to use. I've always appreciated when Nate busts out. You can tell he's like an OG in this, because he's like, but he doesn't overuse it. He doesn't overuse the star wipe.
Yeah. It has to be used slightly ironically.
Yeah.
But I think that it also speaks to the accessibility of editing tools and the speed that you can edit these things in, because these things didn't exist 8 to 10 years ago, because it would have taken hours to do. So you're being able to do it quickly, efficiently into these edits, because the tools are there for us to do it with.
Yeah. And there's so many plugins and things now as well that just make, you know, creating, you know, those effects and transitions so much easier. And as Nate said, like, I've been known to use some of those same sort of transitions in some of my work, but again, you need to use it at the right time. Use it sparingly. Don't overdo it, because you don't want to be known as the person who's trying to copy Sam Calder. You know, he's got his own style, and it's a fantastic style. But come up with your own thing. You know, do
when it comes to developing your own style and anything like it's any kind of business or any kind of activity or anything that you want people to see, it has to come to that, like having your own style, having your own ideas. Like, it's like we're talking. I when I started picking up my camera, I was talking to Jesse and Harrison. It came a lot to what we want is the stories. It's what you say, how you say it, and even with you, we were talking earlier, and when we started talking about like the industry and what we think and the experiences, and it comes to, you cannot replicate them a lot of the time. So it's like the same thing. You cannot replicate someone else's work. It's like we were saying that these conversations sometimes, like either before or after, a lot of times like, oh, we should just have kept that camera recording because you miss this or that. It's like, it's exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
You will miss a lot from your own views if you try to jump on that.
Definitely, it's so much better when it's raw and unplanned. As you said, I mean, a lot of the time when I'm filming an interview, and sometimes we finish the interview, we stop asking questions, and then we have a bit of a conversation with whoever we're interviewing. And so sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm glad I kept that camera rolling, because the best material comes through after we've finished with the formal interview questions, because people are more relaxed and they're willing to really get down into the genuine part of themselves and tell you how they feel, and that's what we want. That's what comes across the best on camera.
On that note, when we were shooting the boudoir, which was promptly taken down by Facebook, and I was banned for a while, we did bring up almost like the most ridiculous, or like, I don't know, the funniest thing that has happened in a shoot. Obviously, boudoir, you're dealing with like a whole new spectrum of things that can happen. But was there anything that like jumped out at you guys that was like hilarious, or sucked to be you, or
Good, bad experience. Yeah. Something where you're like, this is.
I feel like Nate might have
has
something
one.
for this,
I could probably think long and hard. There's a lot of wedding ones.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I did make a wedding edit that'll never see the light of day about things you shouldn't say at a wedding. And there is so much. There was a groomsman who said something about eating his wife's poop.
Wow, all right.
There was a guy who was talking to his wife and got the words monotonous and monogamy
Oh my
wrong.
god, nice.
Oh my goodness.
So that, and she just looked at him like, what?
I'd like to see this edit.
Yeah.
Can we have a private screening someday?
Maybe someday. I bring my laptop.
I think there's a lot of I think weddings are probably the best example of this sort of stuff. I mean, we've had
There's alcohol involved.
Oh yeah, lots of alcohol, and we've had officiants who have forgotten the couple's names and used the wrong names, throughout the ceremony. We had a couple that I think the ring bearer dropped the rings as he was walking down the aisle, and then
Oh
we
my
had
God.
the whole bridal party trying to search for them in the aisle
God.
at one stage. Yeah, I mean, weddings are fantastic because it's a live event, right?
Yeah.
So it's you can't redo it. You've got to get it right that first time, and things happen, and I think part of our job is just adapting to those situations, and trying to fix mistakes or make things better, and that sort of thing, because things do go wrong, and it is pretty
Things do
funny
go
at the
wrong,
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, weddings.
I know.
Good times.
Yeah.
I'm sure I have some business ones, but I just can't. Off the top of my head, I cannot think of any.
That's
But
all right.
there definitely have happened.
I
What
would
am
say
I doing here?
I would say interviews can be quite funny sometimes. I mean, people understandably can get, if you're not used to talking on camera and you need to stand up and talk about your business in front of a camera and that sort of thing. Some people get up there and they just don't. They're just not able. They burst out laughing, or they just can't get their words out and things like that. And it can be a nerve-wracking situation. And I have literally, when I've been editing, sometimes I really am constructing sentences, just adding in a word
that.
here and there, or,
Nice,
and
yeah.
it's that, I mean, I would never make anyone say anything, awful.
you could.
But I could do that. I could use it to my advantage, but I don't. But yeah, it's very hard to stand up there and construct a sentence sometimes, in front of a camera. And I've
A camera or a group or both.
definitely, yeah,
In
public
terms
speaking.
of weddings.
Oh, yeah, and we've had some funny speeches as well.
There was an interview we were doing recently for an edit, and the guy they just wanted him to kind of recite some stuff. So they said, "Okay, can you say your name one more time, just because?" And he
Oh,
was like,
nice.
"I am so and so, just because." He just said it back word for word, and my employees were dying.
Oh, that's
look at
good.
this.
That's so good. Actually, we've had I had something on a wedding shoot. When you're telling the couple to get into a certain pose or do something for you, and sometimes we'll tell our couple, our bride and groom, to touch foreheads. And what we mean is, touch your foreheads together. But we have had bride and groom, pick up their hand and touch each other's
Oh,
foreheads.
that's hilarious.
So that's a good one as well. Things people do. Oh.
But if you've never been told to do that before, you could see okay, yeah, all right.
Definitely.
If that's what you want, I guess.
And we do,
yeah.
when we're directing, specifically, people in any video really, but on your wedding day, often you haven't been in that situation before. You might never have done a photo shoot or a film shoot before, and we're directing you to do all of these things, and yeah, it's nerve-wracking. You don't know, why would you touch someone else's forehead, and stay there for 2 minutes sort of looking at them. You really wouldn't do that in everyday life, but we make you do it. Yeah.
How was Revy? Because we just finished our last weddings.
Revy was fantastic. It was our last wedding of the season, so it's been a fantastic season, but it's also been a very tiring season. So we were happy to see that one come to an end. But Revy was absolutely beautiful. There's nothing like being in a gorgeous setting like that, and that's something that I love about filming weddings is that I get to travel to some beautiful locations and some beautiful destinations and work with some amazing vendors.
No doubt.
And it's being in the mountains and in nature and that sort of thing, and being able to pose and direct a cinematic film in that surrounding is just one of my favorite things to do.
No doubt. How about you, Nate? Are you all done weddings, or is Joy Factory all done weddings? Or?
I mean, technically, yes, but we have one in that I'm trying to finalize for December 29th.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, but no.
Yeah.
You got the good old mid-December wedding.
Yeah.
I wasn't there, but I work at DRU doing weddings and events, and the nicest event we've ever had, even including galas or including anything there was a wedding 2 years ago, and it was on December. It was December 30th, I think. And I wasn't there for that, but I saw pictures, and it's the most incredible event that I've seen. December weddings.
It can be a thing for sure.
It can be a thing.
Yeah, I love winter weddings. I know why a lot of people don't have them, obviously. It's freezing cold, but we shot one up at Sun Peaks, I think it was last year, and it was at the Mid-Mountain Day Lodge, and it was just snowing. It was so magical. It was lightly snowing for the whole ceremony, and yes, I was worried about my gear at the time. I think we had, plastic covers on all of the cameras and everything, but just absolutely magical. And then all of the guests skied and snowboarded down the mountain afterwards, so we got to capture that as well.
I remember you talking about that one too.
Yeah, still to this
Which
day.
is its own sum of challenges too.
Oh,
to
definitely.
All right, so captain
we had to
skiing.
do 2 trips. We took all of our gear up, 2 chairlift rides. And at the end of it all, the chairlifts were closed and half our gear was still up at the Mid-Mountain Day Lodge, so we had to get the ski patrol to bring it down on the sled. And and that's the thing. Every film does come with its own set of challenges, and it's really planning for those challenges and being prepared. But at the end of the day, when you watch the film, you don't see any of that stuff. All you see is this beautiful story that's come out of it, and that means we've been successful, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, it was nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, every wedding is so different. It's crazy. Even when you think you have the formula down,
Yeah.
and you do all the due diligence beforehand, you do all the pre-planning, and then you show up and it's like, I didn't know this was happening, or this is not what we talked about beforehand.
For us, I think weather is a big factor.
Yeah.
When we turn up and maybe there's no plan B, maybe the ceremony was meant to be outside, and it still is going ahead outside.
Yeah.
And all the guests have umbrellas, or at least
That's
some of them.
Harrison and I have been trying to find those hat umbrellas, but
Oh, yeah.
try and find a classier hat umbrella, which is
No,
we
it's
haven't
not
been
a
able to
thing.
do that.
Yeah.
But
I'll just call
that's
the hat.
I guess so, but an umbrella that can cover at least your camera, so you
Oh,
can
yeah.
do under,
Yeah.
or like backpack umbrellas, because really you're kind of out, you're hooped.
Yeah, and it's.
I should have sent you that edit so we could watch that just for that one cut.
It can happen on any shoot, really. I mean, rain is something that we face a lot of, and especially when you're an event filmmaker and you specialize largely in events. We filmed the Pride Festival this year, and or the Pride Parade, and we woke up that morning and it was just drizzling
Coming
with
down.
rain and kind of on and off, and my cameras were all covered with plastic bags and all that sort of thing, and it's not the most attractive thing. It doesn't look the best, but rain or shine, you need to get out and you need to
flies.
do your job.
Well,
and
on that day too, we were City of Kamloops was supposed to put a big like tent up on our stuff,
Yeah.
and of course they don't. So our laptops are just
Oh,
like we're just like get through this event that
no.
Yeah.
we're not
Yeah.
making a ton of cash on, and like for the love of God.
Yeah.
But that happens, and it happens so often.
The
Yeah.
amount of shoots that we've had to cancel just because it has been raining. Commercial we recently completed for a city, we had to cancel the shot put shots we wanted with Greg Stewart. It was going to
Right.
be like overlooking Kamloops Lake and sunset, and we had to cancel them 3 times because it just kept dumping until we were finally like, we need to go do it because it's due in 2 days. It doesn't matter the weather, we have to get it done. Or shoots out in.
So did it make it look badass though, or were you?
In the end, it looked okay. We couldn't throw when it was rainy. He couldn't throw when it was rainy. It was just cloudy.
I see.
So it looked a little more moody, and it still looked great, but it didn't look
Wasn't
what we wanted.
Yeah.
In the end, I think it worked out because a lot of the other shots were like grittier and darker,
Yeah.
and a lot of movement, a lot of action, and it made it better. But yeah, I wanted that sunset.
Yeah.
The sunset
shot
bang.
of
Yeah.
this 7-foot dude
No
throwing
doubt.
a large
Yeah.
metal bomb.
How is shooting in Kamloops? Like around Kamloops, what do you how do you feel about like these?
It's great. I mean, there's more than enough with the way that video is going. There's more than enough business to go around. There's so much diversity in the landscape, no matter where you go. And we do a lot of work out in the Gold Country region, in the Clinton, Ashcroft, Cache Creek, Spence's Bridge kind of area. And I mean, that's just a ton of fun to go film out
Like,
there.
I know there's even being like a lot of Hollywood movies that actually have come to Kamloops to shoot. You have so much. Like, so I want to see like from you guys. This is your environment. This is where you guys shoot. Where you been doing where you grew up, like us videographers, right?
Yeah.
Like that's
One
why I wanted to.
one of
come-
them.
One of them.
Yeah,
But
we.
how long have you been here, Alex? You've been here for.
So I've been here for about 2.5 years now, just under that, I think. And for me, I'm very inspired by the scenery here. I think back in Australia, obviously, it's a lot of beaches,
Yeah.
and we've got the outback and that sort of thing. But the countryside is very different, and the Canadian landscape has always inspired me. And so moving to Kamloops, as Nate said, there's so much variety here. You drive 20 minutes in any direction and you're in a completely different landscape. You're in maybe semi-desert, or you're in dense forest, or
Yeah.
you're up on a mountain. Like, what more could you ask for? We're so lucky to live in a place like this. I couldn't pick a nicer place, really.
We shot a behind the scenes for a movie called Red Snow that's coming out, I think, next year. And we interviewed a lot of these actors, and one of them was from Afghanistan. And she's like, it just reminds me of home. Like, we're by this waterfall and it's
Wow.
coming down, and then we're into Kamloops, and it's, we have this vast landscape here and trees everywhere, and then we're in a mine and we have fake snow. Like, you just crop that out, and I feel, right.
That's
at home.
interesting. Hey, yeah.
Yeah.
So we have like the semi-arid desert too, like it's hot, but then we have the snow.
Yeah, it's the slight rolling hills.
It's great, for filming different projects, because it's going to look different at different times of year. And for me, it was something I needed to get used to. I needed to, sometimes when a client contacts me, I know I need to jump on this project quickly because
Yeah.
the season's going to change,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to be able to get the shots that I need
Yeah.
for a project quick enough. Whereas in Australia, where I lived, it was almost summer all year round, so we could shoot any time of year. It would all look the same.
And you can drop the film too, because there's one thing to shoot it, but then you also have to edit it and release it
Yeah.
while it still looks similar,
Yeah.
instead of like a winter drop of a summer
Yeah.
promo
Exactly.
video.
And sometimes I find we're shooting things one year and then we're releasing them, or the client's releasing them the next year, because, maybe we did a series of videos and they're meant to be released in summer. And,
Yeah.
by the time we finish everything up, it's fall and we can't release them. So
Yeah.
that's something that I've dealt
Yeah,
with here as well, which has
encountered
been
here, yeah.
different. Yeah.
Yeah, especially with the smoke the last 2 years.
Oh
Yeah.
God.
That's,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
its own huge challenge too, with video
Mm-hmm.
and photo and events in general, man.
Yeah. Like, we were trying to
I can see how angry you are right now.
trying to create a video for Gold Country, be like, oh, we're back, we had to smoke, like, we had lost a ton of acreage last year that burnt down, but, we're coming back, and then it got smoky again, and we couldn't film or release the video that was about how it wasn't smoky this year. Oh well.
It's like all the videographers need to come together. I don't know how you guys your stance on like climate change and stuff, but I feel like we should all come together and like
Do
create some
something,
promo to try and counteract what's going on right now.
I
'cause-
agree. I think it would be a great idea. The smoke has definitely thrown a bit of a spanner in the works
Yeah.
for us over the last couple of years. I know.
On a particular
Yeah.
smoky day this year, I had that thought. I was sitting, I hadn't written a short in a while, and I was sitting there being like, I should do something on this about like this is not normal.
Yeah.
Like look at this, because I was at Red Collar, and there were people sitting out on the patio, and it was probably like the 10+ rating
Yeah.
for smokiness.
Yeah.
And the servers weren't going out there, but people were like, well, we want to go for a pint. This is normal now.
Yeah.
We're just even seeing people walking down the street wearing those, masks, and even, going to a hardware store trying to buy those masks, and they're all out of them because
Yeah.
everybody,
It's a trip.
You know,
yeah.
and it shows. I had a friend that he made a video as a joke, but it ended up like everybody started asking him. Like about 300 people saw the video, and he was just like, "It's nice in Taiwan." And he was here at TRU in the 3rd floor of what you could
Oh my
not see.
God.
So people actually believe that he was in Taiwan because of like, oh, it's so polluted up there, hey?
Yeah.
And he was like, no, it's actually Kamloops, and it's where we're living. So it is just crazy to see like changes like. So eventually next year
Yeah.
things go the same way. Like it would be cool to see different businesses,
Yeah.
videographers do something about to show.
We'll definitely.
Even like Hope just commented that we should do a collective video on climate change.
100%. That's what I was
Yeah,
thinking.
'cause I know
Yeah.
that like Danny was filming something about it. She was like, I want to go out and film the smoke. Danny
Oh,
Easton.
yeah.
Maybe.
I remember
yeah.
she was talking about that around the time that I had my idea. I just saw it. I'd post on Twitter
Yeah.
or Facebook or something.
I think it's a great idea.
And it's like it's farther reaching than just like our industry. How many other industries are
So many
collectively
industries
hurting
suffer.
because
I mean,
of
as
it.
someone
Yeah.
who grew up here and has watched it change for, I'm turning 37 this year, and I grew up a little Heffley Lake, and I used to have, my birthday's in November, and I used to invite my friends up for sledding parties in November because I knew we'd have like a few inches of snow on the ground. And now we're lucky if we have a few inches of snow by Christmas. Like
Yeah.
it rains in November.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I could legitimately see Sun Peak's not getting snow one year in
Yeah.
the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That could happen,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't bet against it.
No.
Yeah. It's
Okay,
a real,
so,
it's a real
yeah.
issue.
Well,
Let's get on it.
I am
yeah.
so keen to do that.
Already online, so you guys have to get on it.
Yeah.
All right.
It's out there. Shit, I'm
It'd be
down.
helpful now. I think that there's a larger collective of people in Kamloops and videographers that would get behind that. Like from when we started, and it was 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And now there's how many companies, how many people do
Yeah.
we know that are making videos?
Yeah.
It's pretty incredible because I mean it's so much more accessible
Yeah.
and so much more available. Like how
many hours of content get uploaded every day?
Well, YouTube has just like taken off so much. Anyone can be on YouTube. There's so many people vlogging now, and yeah, I mean, I think it's fantastic that that's what it's turning into. I mean, a lot of the videos I'm making are for companies for Instagram.
Yeah.
To go on their Instagram feed and
Snackables.
Is that what you call 'em?
that's what they call them.
Oh, really?
Roll my
Snackables.
eyes, but
Oh
I've
my
had
God.
multiple clients say that now. Okay, I know what you mean.
all these buzzwords being thrown around.
Ah.
But I think that's where it's going. A lot of it,
Yeah. No, it
Yeah.
is for sure.
Whenever we make a film or a video for a company, I mean, we're generally always making an Instagram version for it as well. So
Yeah.
that's where the
You ever
majority of the
start
content.
filming vertical though.
No, I don't know.
We've shot a
Maybe.
few of those.
Yeah, if you.
But IGTV just isn't taken off for like, especially in Kamloops. It's not like
Yeah.
No one's clicking up. At
Yeah,
the
they're like,
top.
oh, here's the thing. I don't want to watch that.
No.
Why? I do think it's gotten better though in length. I was thinking about that the other day about how it started to be like, how short can we get this?
Yeah.
Can we
Yeah.
get this out
Yep.
in 15 seconds, 20
Yeah.
seconds? And I think that the long form video is slowly starting to come back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had a theory on that, in that 5 years ago, 6 years ago, the biggest video game was Angry Birds.
Right.
And
yeah.
that's a thing
Yeah.
you can beat in like
Yep.
10, 15 seconds every
Yeah.
level. And now the biggest video game around is Fortnite.
Yeah.
So that's driving viewership on YouTube. Either kids are going to sit down, teenagers sit down, and are going to watch a 15, 20-minute video because they
Yeah.
watch their favorite personality,
Yeah.
or things like Twitch, right?
Yeah.
So I think, well, like our generation and older still is humming and hawing between that 2, 4, 5 minute range. But I think that that's helping as much as like, video games, Fortnite, what are they doing? It's helping.
Twitch is huge,
drive
man.
that.
Their viewership is just unbelievable.
Yeah.
We've been talking about getting into Twitch, even just as like media developers because of the reach there.
Yeah.
But they're all still shooting at not a vertical stance. Whereas IGTV is one of those things that I see the value in, like people are on Instagram so much more. But to shoot, I guess that's maybe where your nicer cameras come into play, because you can crop down a version as long as you have it. Like we've started, creating those like the crop lines for vertical, and as long as you have that in mind when you're shooting to actually be able to take that content.
I did try to shoot a vertical video once on the C100, and it felt so weird. It looked really great. It was like blue hour, and the cup was on the beach, and it was like also be great for Instagram. But yeah, it was it felt odd. Felt odd. We never posted it. I think we could have, and it would have gone over well.
Yeah.
But I don't want to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. In terms of video length, which is what you had sort of touched on before. I mean, I've had a lot of clients, obviously, who come and they say, we want it needs to be 15 seconds long, or it needs to be 30 seconds long. And, I ask them why. Why does it need to be this length? Where are you putting it? And a lot of the time it's like, just Facebook or Instagram or our website. And again, so why does it need to be 15 to 30 seconds? Well, we lose viewer engagement after that. People don't watch, they have short attention spans and that sort of thing. And my answer to that is, well, you just need to create an engaging story, because if your video is engaging enough and it's powerful enough, people will sit there for a few minutes and they will watch. They'll sit there for maybe 5 to 10 minutes and watch if you can grab their attention. Yeah. And so if you do have good content and you have a good, method of delivering that content and telling that story, there's no reason why you need to place a limit. Unless you're making a TV commercial, it has to be 30 seconds long, or or a minute for Instagram.
Yeah.
There's
or like
no
even the YouTube commercials now, like the pre-roll ones.
Yeah.
I think the most engaging ones are the ones that are like 5 to 10 seconds that
Yeah.
they do just a little quip. Like I saw some RBC ones recently that had what's his face? Canadian actor. I forget. He's really lanky and has a high pitched voice. He was in Goon.
No, I know who
Jay
you're talking.
Burchell.
Yeah, I know who you're talking
Yeah.
about. I don't know his name,
But
but
he's like, hey, this commercial is 5 seconds long. It'll save you because Royal Bank will save you this much, and like that was it. It was like,
Yeah.
oh, that
and
was
then,
smart.
and then you
Yeah,
skip because you're
definitely.
like sitting there ready to click on skip ad or whatever it is, right?
But
And
you
fit
don't have
it
to
in there.
because it's done.
I think
Yeah.
it's all in the messaging. It's all like how you go about delivering that message, and it can be done very quickly. But sometimes it does take a little bit longer. To get a point
to
across.
tell that story or whatever.
Definitely, and I'm watching a lot on Facebook, just scrolling through my feed and that sort of thing, and I'll come across the Upworthy, like a video or something like that, and those stories get me every time.
Yeah.
They reel me in, and they might be
Yeah.
5 minutes long, but hey, I'm gonna sit there and I'm gonna watch
Yeah.
it because I know I'm gonna be in tears at some point, and it's gonna be a story worth watching.
Yeah.
So I don't see a reason why people need to put such big restrictions on how long their video needs to be. Like,
Yeah.
don't make it 20 minutes long. I mean, that's crazy. But when we're talking about a couple of minutes here and there,
Yeah. But I think that's the fine line though of like how long it needs to be, because we're talking like we'll skip an ad, which is something that we might create.
Yeah.
Like, you want to create an ad that's 45 seconds long. Well, they might only watch 5 seconds of it.
yeah.
Yeah.
But if you want to create something that people are going to click on and watch on YouTube, then that length can be longer.
Definitely.
For sure.
That's where like
it's
the
who you're-
purpose, the people you're trying to engage
Exactly.
with or reach, and the story if you're trying to tell a story. We had a meeting not too long ago with some clients that like, we'd love these shorter bangers for Instagram. They definitely didn't say it that way, but the way
Snackables.
yeah, it was definitely a more snackable situation. But it 100% depends on the content that you're creating. If you can't create something to make it engagement or worthy also of like a like to up their, their analytics or their algorithm, then why are you doing it at that point?
Yep. Exactly.
And that's like Google is like can be our worst enemy in a lot of things because they'll Google like, okay, what kind of video should you make for engagement, but it may just direct them in the totally wrong direction.
Yeah.
And for us, we're constantly trying. Like a big part of it is also making sure that you kind of explain to your clients, like you said, like why are you doing that? Let's get to the bottom of what you want to accomplish, and then you can give your 2 cents on the dime.
Definitely.
I had a client or a potential client that we never got, and he said, "I want 1 million views. That's all I want. I don't care. I will drive a car off a cliff."
I want a viral video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Great. I can't guarantee that. I'm
There
not."
is
It's
no-
like so do I.
Yeah. If I
How
knew that.
are you going to?
Yeah.
How are you going to distribute it? Like, I think a lot of
Yeah.
it is in the distribution as well.
Yeah.
You can make a fantastic video and only have it seen by maybe a few thousand people or maybe less even, but it can still be a fantastic video. It's all about the way that you release it and the distribution channels that you put it on, and that is a massive part of it. And I think a lot of the time maybe the client we try to help the client with that, obviously, but that's not something that a lot of people think of. They just think, oh no, I have to have this video, it has to go on my website or it needs to go on Facebook, and they sort of forget about well, how are we going to release it, how is it going to be seen, and that is a huge part of it, almost bigger than the video itself sometimes.
That's where like the business comes in. Like that's like the business side of content creation, where you need to know those answers or have like a somewhat of a game plan as a creator.
Definitely.
What was your most viewed video?
My most viewed?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Gosh, I don't know. I would have to look. I don't, I know what my most viewed wedding film is.
Yeah.
And it was actually one that I shot last year for some very dear friends of mine who I hope they're not watching this right now. For Ash and Dee Dee, who are Ashley's in the Sweater Kittens band. And it was one of my favorite weddings to tell the story for. They just had such a beautiful story, and their personalities came through, so well. And I think it had up around like 10,000 views or something like that, which for
like it was kind of a country-ish.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, for a wedding film, like that's a lot of views. Normally it's only the couple and maybe their family and friends that are viewing it. So you might get like a couple of thousand views might be great. That's really good for a wedding film, but like 10,000, that's really nice, when that many people get to see your work. And that was from, other, magazines picked it up and, sort of posted it on their Facebook pages and Instagram and that sort of thing. And yeah, it's all about traction, right? So it's other people sharing your content, other well-known creators sharing your content.
And it has to do when it comes to that. Right now, I'm back in school working on with one. It's a teacher that he has a lot of experience with being an influencer. He was in Forbes magazine 2014. He was one of the top 30 influencers. And through his class, he starts telling you all the tweets and all the everything that you can do to bump like little things, either with a lot of value or with no value at all. So
What's his name though, so you can people can look him up at True and check out his class.
Yeah.
No, what's his name?
His name?
Yeah.
The teacher? So his name. Oh, he's gonna hate
no.
me right now because he's probably watching. Oh God.
Yeah, sorry. I kind of felt like you wouldn't know, and I wanted to like expose you here.
Yeah. Actually, his name is Julio Biskovich.
Yeah, you talk so highly, and the shit that he
he's
knows
like,
is actually incredible.
In class, he sometimes is just like, "Hey, I'm gonna show you guys something really quick." I wasn't used to Twitter. I opened Twitter like 3 months ago. I was like, "Well, Twitter, it's you gotta write things." And then he went into actually showing us how you can use all these tools for selling, for advertising. And I don't know if you guys remember the South Bay like campaign. It wasn't that he became just like an instant, like
Alex, do you know what he's talking about there? The Salt Bay, the guy who's like
guy
this with the
who-
salt.
with the salt, and in the mid. He
Oh,
has,
no.
Like, a lot of restaurants.
Didn't reach you.
No,
That's
it didn't reach
interesting.
you.
Maybe not. Maybe it didn't reach Australia. It didn't cross the ocean.
So it's like this guy. He became a celebrity on Instagram.
Okay.
And from there, he had one restaurant, and he became bigger and bigger and bigger.
Right.
And we everybody thought that it was just him being him, but it was no. There was something behind it.
A series of
It
like
was-
marketing and
Yeah.
ideas and
marketing,
brainstorming.
ideas and brainstorming
Yeah.
that made it seem it was that way,
Yeah.
which pushed it a lot farther. Like once it was big, it just became bigger and bigger. So there's different ways of, it has to do a lot of marketing and the knowledge.
When you become a videographer, you start to notice those kind of things in like the subtle, like, oh, this is a totally natural thing that happened. And the specific one I remember was the Uncle Drew.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
like Kyrie Irving dresses up as an old
Right.
man and goes
Yeah.
to a playground and like,
And just schools them.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember watching that video, like, oh, it's so fun. And then it cut away to a guy that I recognized from YouTube, and he was holding a Pepsi. And I was like, this is paid for. This is so fake.
Okay.
And it ruined it all for me, that kind of thing.
The product placement. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's like others that we could talk about. Like there is the one of the girl that she's doing yoga. She falls down, and then she like everything lights on fire. There's one like that one became like big for 3 months, and then I don't know if it was Jimmy Kimmel or Jimmy Fallon.
It was
They
Kimmel.
were on the behind the scenes. They were like they open the door and they come or they do something. It's like you know what like this was. We
Yeah, it's
made
all
it
fake.
happen. So
Yeah.
there's different things that you can push to be like.
Definitely. Yeah. And it's funny with viral videos because the simplest things can go viral,
Yeah.
I mean, you look on YouTube and there's just some stuff that you would never think,
The most watched Kamloops video of all time is called Dumb as Stick, and it's a dog that can't get through a fence because he's holding a stick.
Oh,
And it has
Oh.
over 100.
That's in Kamloops?
That's a
Oh
Kamloops.
my
I didn't
goodness.
know that.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
Joey did a list years ago of the top most viewed Kamloops
Right.
videos on YouTube, and that was number one, was Dumb as Stick.
Yep.
Dog can't get through fence.
Wow.
Well, it's not totally surprising. Like looking at this, my history. Like I obviously have some like great history in terms of the videos I've watched. But then there's also some shit that's like, it's just hilarious, and I can't stop watching it. And like I want to create that because I know people will love that kind of shit.
Yeah.
Or like
Definitely.
Stacy has a video from years ago with her old puppy that she's posted on YouTube that has like 40,000 views.
It's crazy.
Because it's just
Yeah.
like, here's my baby Weimaraner.
And that's the thing, people want to watch puppies and kittens and, doing cute things. And those videos, they get so
They
many
go a long
views.
way,
We have this sketch
Totally.
planned at some point that's going to be making the most Kamloops post ever. And it's going to be like drinking a red collar while taking a shot of the sunset
Nice.
on Dufferin while riding a bike with a puppy. And
Oh, wow.
Yeah, how to
Nice.
post a Kamloops photo.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Make a Kamloops Instagram post as a Joy Factory video that hopefully will happen at some
Nice.
point
Oh,
when we have
fantastic.
time.
Yeah.
After our flooring gets installed.
Yeah, I think in terms of getting views and distribution, like you really have to think about it before the fact. Some of my most viewed videos in the past have been when we've done like a story in conjunction, like maybe we've done it in conjunction with like a news channel or something like that. Back in Australia, I did a few videos like that for the organization I was working for. And because, obviously this television channel was releasing it on the news, as a story, we got so much traction. We got so many views, because it was being seen on TV. And, you really need to plan out, like if you can partner with another popular sort of body, of some sort, a media agency or something like that, to help get your work out there.
Yeah.
That's always a good way to do it,
Yeah.
It's going to be seen.
I have a good story about our most viewed YouTube video ever, which doesn't exist on YouTube anymore because
Aw.
of music rights. We did a lip dub video where the client wanted the actual song. And I was like, we can't put your logo on here unless you actually pay for the song. So they dropped, I think, somewhere between 10 and 20 grand in music rights
Holy.
for Fishing in the Dark.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
wow.
and we were allowed to have it up for 2 years, and it did incredibly well. And oh, Zach says hey.
Hey, Zach.
Hey, Zach.
It did incredibly well, and I think we were between 40 and 50,000 at the very end of it. But yeah, they spent a ton
That's
of money,
wild.
and it was one of our most intense shoots. We filmed 40 or 50 different shoots throughout a number of months, and it took, I think, 3 months to finally track down the lawyers of the individual writers and get them to agree for
Crazy.
the payouts. And I got to the point where I had to quit and hand it off to the client's lawyers
Yeah.
to take care of it. So I'm sure that was even a higher cost. But yeah, they ended up spending more on the rights than they did on the entire video. And it was,
Crazy.
they could only have it for 2 years, and then they had to pull it from the internet.
That's wild.
I'd love to
That's
see that
wild,
one day.
Yeah, I've got it somewhere
All
online.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It killed the song "Fishing in the Dark" for me. I could
Oh,
never listen to that song
yeah.
ever again.
I'd never heard that
I
song
listen
until
to
I
it
came
every
Canada.
Saturday. Oh, fuck.
Now I hear it every weekend. I know all the words.
But it's an interesting like dichotomy between like views and then when you're working for a client to actually like make the client happy or like send sales their way, because like a lot of clients will I want tons of views, but those views don't really matter if you're not
Yeah.
making that into whatever they're trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're not getting your message across, there's no reason. I mean, theoretically, if you didn't have a good message, you wouldn't be getting that number of views. But I mean, yeah, it does happen. Sometimes if it's a big name brand that's released a video, everyone is going to be watching it, so they'll have the views.
Yeah.
Maybe not watching it right to the end, but and it might not be a great video. And you're right, it's more about the content of the video, I think.
Yeah.
Not people need to
Not
stop
necessarily
focusing
the
on, oh, I need
views.
to have 1 million views. Like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
It's
I
like, well, who do you want to reach?
Yeah, I don't know how to get you that. Puppy sunset,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know, girl in a bikini in the
Definitely.
in the thumbnail.
An emotive story of a athlete with a disability or something.
Yeah.
And a couple Sam Colder transitions.
Yeah.
Yeah, with it. Yeah. Oh, you can pack everything into that one video. So many different techniques and storytelling elements. We could make the perfect viral video. Yeah.
My personal most one, it's Facebook views, so it's still
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit iffy.
yeah. it
There's
was
two categories in
yeah.
Facebook for you, son.
was 120,000.
Oh,
And that was
wow.
for
Oh.
my city video.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one
Yeah,
that one
that was
did really
great.
well.
Yeah,
And that was
and I
perfectly
think-
timed too.
Yeah, exactly. That was one of the things. I was like, if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
And if I do it well, and I release it right now, it'll do
Yeah.
well. But it exceeded my expectations
Yeah.
tenfold.
And it was your voice too,
Yeah.
which is great.
Yeah.
I did one for tourism, or not for tourism New Zealand, but I went to New Zealand, and this is before they had Facebook views. But it got picked up by Tourism New Zealand and shared by 656 people. So I'm sure that one
Yeah, no
was
doubt.
way up there as well.
Yeah.
So that was another one that I was really proud of. And it was a similar kind of thing. Like it was me, like the importance of travel and
Yeah.
like why you should get stamps in your passport. Yeah. So that was another one that I was like,
And did you plan to shoot that one, or did you just decide to do it when you were there?
I had a bit of an idea of what I wanted to do, and I knew I wanted to film it, and I started getting kind of the shots. And then while I was there, I started working on the script. Like, I went by myself, so with the evenings I did nothing to do except try and find a stream to watch Canada in the Olympics for hockey because that was on at the time. But so I'd go and I'd sit at a pub and have a beer, and then I'd kind of start working on the script and reworking until I got it right, and I knew the shots that I had, and yeah, it just worked out really well. And the My City one, I knew what I wanted to write about, and I just went through all the bank of footage that we had that I'd never used, and managed to pull. I was like, I know we have so much stuff that I could pull together that would just exemplify everything that I want to say, and used a shot from Hummingbird that set me up. That opening shot is something that someone in Kamloops could never get unless they had a drone license.
Yeah. Was
flying basically next to the airport with a drone.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
No.
Don't do that. Only because they were out doing another job and they happened to get the footage and like, hey, you want this?
Yeah.
And then I had a shot that Matt Brooks. We'd helped Matt Brooks shoot shoot something, I got to use mountain biking shots. And yeah, the rest was just stuff I had in the bag, and it just worked so well with the what I wanted to get across.
Definitely.
Speaking of flying near airports, I'm not proud to admit it, but like the first time I got the drone,
That's like
my first drone, I was like, "Where's a place where there's no one around? Like I have nothing to worry about, not a lot of roads." And we went out to like the hoodoos. Essentially, there's like a pull out there, right?
Which let me stop you there.
And it was like,
It was pre-Avenue, like pre.
Yeah.
oh yeah, no, this
It
is like
was-
when
it was a
drones were
bigger-
like,
Just for fun,
It was-
right?
yeah,
Just
this
this
to
is when
have
drones
fun.
were coming in like
Yeah.
hot. Like this is well before I was doing anything with it. I wasn't flying it like way up there, but like it didn't dawn on me, right? And
Yeah.
I was only flying maybe 15 feet above myself. Well, before DJI had like automatic pop-ups, restricted area. I was just like, yeah, I'm not gonna hurt anyone here. So yeah, some people like at least back now. There's when you buy the drone and you're like looking up instructions, it's pretty obvious not to do that.
Yeah.
This is like
But
early
people-
DJI, and it was not in the instruction
Yeah.
manual in terms of like where and
So
where
people
not
don't
to.
even get it, 'cause I see like new editors coming along in Kamloops. They pop up like, "Oh, who's this guy? Who's that guy?" And there's a guy who just flew it over downtown Kamloops.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been like
Nice shots, but I
Yeah.
was like, I don't know
Beautiful.
if that was legal.
Flock of birds just flew under you.
and like photos, and then we see like downtown Kamloops like resharing those photos, and like okay. So we've been setting up like big helium balloons with like GoPros strapped onto them on like strings downtown.
Wow.
Like, hey, we'll
It's like the
try
original,
this.
the original
Yeah.
Mastermind blimp. They used to
Is
have
it
to-
really?
Yeah, one of their first things was they had a blimp that they'd send up and do aerial photos that way, because they had one of the original drones. They had a drone that was
The big,
you know,
big
8
boys.
propellers, and they
Wow.
had to attach a camera to it, as opposed to what you get now.
built in.
Now
yeah.
it just folds into your backpack and
Yeah.
has a Hasselblad camera on
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, again, like scaling up.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we're like, what do we get next? We have the Phantom 4. We want to get something better. We want to get, get the licenses and be able to fly wherever we want. But if I want to buy the Zenmus, I think it's the X5 lens with interchangeable, so I can get an 80 or a 50 mil and a 100 mil. Well, that's another 4.5 for that drone, and then the lens pack is another 2.5.
Yeah. Yeah, it just adds up quickly.
Do you guys keep all your raw footage, or do you ever run into storage issues? That's what Sax is asking.
So, I mean, I probably have a different storage solution than Nathan. Every filmmaker, videographer I have talked to seems to have a different storage solution, and I know this because I was looking to change mine up this year and talked to everyone I know in film, and so what we do every year, like I have my working drive, which is this 24 terabyte G technology shuttle, and it's amazing to work off of. But when it comes to storing footage and like archiving it and that sort of thing, at the end of each year, I take everything off that and I back it up onto other drives. I'll make a copy of those drives and then I'll file them away. Currently looking into a fire safe to put them in as well, just for that extra level of protection. But I don't like to have a lot of archival footage sitting on my current drive that I'm working off of. It just slows it down, and I've got way too much footage for that. So, yeah.
Yeah, we have, I'd say 90% of the footage from everything, except for the ones that have just eventually through time become corrupted and just don't work anymore, because back when the vertically standing hard drives that were this big were 500 gigs and ran off like USB 1. They don't work as well anymore with the new computers. So I mean, I can buy a thumb drive that has more space than those things do now. Yeah, but I think for the most part we have all our old footage. There's probably some super embarrassing stuff back when we didn't know how to organize it as well.
Yeah, that's
Love Joey to death, but man, that guy could not organize footage. Like, expert thing is like,
Joey, I hope you're not watching this.
yeah, love you, man, but final _ TRU
Oh my god,
1.
this is so funny. This is how Harrison, he saves it like, what was the last thing you saved? Yeah, like,
Oh,
to,
wow.
like,
What does that mean? Oh my my goodness.
And then like G Unit 1, Antonio, like no,
Yeah.
like no tags, no anything,
New _ footage _
or like final copy number 1,
Yeah.
final copy number 2.
I think like my storage, solution has developed over time.
Yeah.
Like I started out and I didn't think much about it, and I hate to go back and look for that old footage because it really isn't filed well at all. But the new stuff, like there is definitely a system, that I've put in place over the last few years, and it's very easy to find. I know where everything is.
And it's incredibly
Year,
important
month,
too.
day.
Yeah.
Hey,
Year, month, day. Start every
year, month, day.
Yeah,
export.
exactly right.
Year,
Yeah.
month, day.
Yeah.
That's the best way to do it. Yeah. And good project naming as well. Just
Yeah.
that goes a long way.
Yeah.
Or like, if you've got a repeat client, which, obviously we will probably do, you'll have a folder for that client, and I have all of my clients' projects in that
Folder. We have a hard drive for clients.
Oh, you have a whole hard drive?
Yeah. It's kind of out of control.
Oh
Yo,
my
so
gosh.
what do you with all the different editors? How do you link, or do you link, or does everyone have their own hard drives, or?
For
Oh, we have another question from Zach about shooting on a red.
red,
See, this is what happens, Zach,
Yes,
when you
I
show
would
up
like
late,
to get
dude.
one
Come
soon.
on, man.
That's my answer.
red probably not. Just you have to buy so many extra things for the red that just don't make it worthwhile. Yeah, the camera might be only $40,000, but
Yeah.
everything you need to buy to run off the red makes it like $120,000 thing. So probably not.
I mean, I've shot with a red, and I love it. I just have to say that footage, even raw straight out of the camera, looks incredible. There's nothing quite like it, except if you're shooting on film, I guess. But looking at the specs, like I just, priced out a Red Raven and, looked at the different specs for that camera, and I, put it against the C200. And I have to say, I'd probably pick the C200 over that particular camera.
And again, you need like a $10,000 computer upgrade
Yeah.
in order to
To
edit
run-
it.
yeah,
Operate it,
yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Along with a new camera comes a new computer often. So yeah, it's
I try to alternate buying like camera gear, computer, like
Yeah.
office infrastructure every year. So last year we did the camera gear. This year is going to be
Office. I'm pumped for your office too, man.
Yeah, man, it's going to be good. We have a blue door.
Oh,
You mentioned that.
Yeah, man. Next to Roz. So.
aw,
That's
that'd be
Lisa.
lovely.
Yeah.
Really nice. Yeah. So I mean, that is my ultimate goal one day is to own a red, but
It's when you have red throw around cash, though. You know, when you're like,
thing,
I
yeah,
can,
and
I
it
can
really
do
depends
this.
what we're shooting at the moment. I mean, again, like I'm 2.5 years in. Nate's eight and a half. So I'm a long way. Like I've got a long way to go, and my business is still evolving. And we'll see where we end up, and we'll see what our clients want, and I think that will dictate where we end up in terms of gear in the next few years.
I get to film. Actually, I got hired to do photography this last year for Highland Valley Copper. They want some headshots, and like we can do the basics for photography. And they're like, oh yeah, we're filming out there. And I'm like, oh yeah, well why don't you hire us? We can do it. This is even before we had the C200. And they ended up hiring a company called Alterna Films out of Vancouver, and they shoot like Toyota truck commercials and for the Canucks. And I got out there and watched them film and their setup. And I was like, oh. Well, yeah, I get why you didn't hire us, because this is ridiculous, the setup that they had. Like the $5,500 drone or $4,500 drone with the lenses, and they had the Alexa Mini camera, and they had a lens that was more expensive than my C200 setup. A camera lens that was $12,000.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe one day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But getting
Support
back,
local,
One
but
day.
in a couple years, for sure.
circling back to something we started with was just the market and the way they're viewing it, and does
Yeah, the way they're
Kamloops
viewing it.
need that?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does Kamloops need an RE Alexa Mini? No.
Not at this current time, but maybe
Yeah, maybe one day.
maybe one day.
Kamloops is growing eventually. I
Maybe when the
believe
price
that
comes down.
eventually.
Yeah.
Or like,
It-
when Zach asked about the red, do we need
Exactly.
people to shoot on red? Like when they're shooting, we have guys like shooting ski films. Yeah. Would Kieran Nicola need a red? Does Matt Brooks need a red for shooting amazing mountain bike videos that are getting picked up by Pink Bike and destroying the amount of views that we've ever had.
Yeah.
Yeah, he could probably use one.
But does he need one? No. But
That's like
yeah. It's
that's like an international market versus a local market, and I guess it's up to us to push it to the levels for people to respect or require that.
Because the more people that come into the market, the more videographers we have. We're all pushing each other to be better. Because when we entered the market, Mastermind was just starting, and the only other company was Pro Video, and they'd been around for a long time. So no one was there to push them forward. Yeah. So if no one else had entered the market, if you weren't here, if New Parallel wasn't here, if Mastermind, if Harrison, if whomever else is coming in that I missed off the top of my head, if they weren't there to push us forward, we would still be filming on T2Is. We'd be leading the market as guys that like, oh yeah, they're just there. They're filming it for cheaper and better, kind of thing.
And I think it's also your clients that have driven you forward as well. You know, you shoot. You'll notice. You know, when you first start out, you'll get a certain caliber of client, or you'll get a certain type of client, and then as you grow and you create more, you kind of step it up and you start getting these bigger businesses approaching you and things like that. And, you know, when a business has more of a marketing budget and they're able to pay you more for your services and that sort of thing, that's when you can start to be like, okay, well, now I can afford this better piece of gear. And then by getting that piece of gear, you are then marketing yourself to another level of clientele altogether. Yeah. And you end up, you know, with bigger clients again and bigger brands and things like that. So.
And those clients also have like a more, I was trying to make a little like wine metaphor of some sort, but, you know, like they can articulate what their vision is, and they can also respect like what your vision might be on gigs, and then they'll also know what that the equipment requirements might look like.
Definitely.
Because you get new clients that don't really know what they want, or they know what they want, but they don't know what it takes to get there. Yeah. And as Kamloops grows, I think that, you know, the businesses will grow as well, and media services will grow, and people's ability to articulate what they want will become more refined. And
I've been lucky as well with the people that I've hired that have helped kind of push it forward because they want more. They know what they want to produce and what they're capable of, and it helps push the company forward. And now I'm getting to the point where I need to manage expectations of, I know what we used to charge, I know the time we used to get into it, but now I know what these guys want to do and what like Hope's time is going to be in the pre-production. Yeah. Because we just did a commercial for School District 73 for this Break for Buses campaign. And for like, okay, yeah, it's going to take, you know, 3-4 hours to film, and pre-production is going to be like an hour or two. And so I gave her, and the editing is going to be like 4 or 5 hours. Give her quotes based on that. And then they just were so involved in it and dove into it and spent so much more time than I had budgeted for. But the end product was like, this is what I believed we'd be doing 8.5 years ago. Right. This is what I envisioned. And like the pre-production time, because Hope had to like find a porta potty and schedule traffic control and deal with alliance safety, and then they had to write the script and they had to plan it out, and Joseph and Liam had to manage kids, and then Joseph he forgot to take a sticker off the back of a Game Boy and had to rotoscope out every frame.
Oh my god.
A Fox sticker on the back of this kid's
perfect
Game Boy. And they ended up putting probably 80 man hours into this commercial and went way over budget, and we definitely lost money on it, but at the end of the day I was like, that's something I can show to a client in the future and be like, this is what we do, these are all the steps that went into it, and I'm proud of it because my employees pushed that forward. And
that's how many hours it takes. So
that was their standard too.
And now you know next time you quote for a job like that.
Exactly.
You won't underquote.
And that's one of those things that you learn too. Like, okay, let's frame the shot. Let's see everyone. Okay, that fuck sticker. We need to make sure we do something about that.
And that's, you know, like on a on a big shoot, like maybe in a big city like Vancouver, you know, like the shoot that you went
Yeah.
to that you were talking about. You've got someone there just purely for continuity, who is just looking for those minor details, you know, whereas smaller crew, everyone's got their roles, you know, usually multiple roles, and, you know, you don't have someone who's just looking out for those specific things.
Yeah.
So, you know, you might not have hair and makeup and wardrobe and all that sort of stuff, you
Yeah.
know, and so those little details get missed, and, you know, sometimes you have to rotoscope them and it takes hours, and yeah.
Then there's only so many times you can learn that lesson. Then you're like, okay, you're
Yeah.
on it.
Yeah.
That's on your
Every
check
shoot
down
is a
list.
lesson. Every shoot. I learn something new
Yeah.
every time.
I forget every shoot.
That's
I
true.
said a
There's
shoot
only
in.
so much.
Yeah.
We were so busy, and I had a shoot in Penticton, and I went down and realized that I'd leave super early in the morning, and I put the tripod plate onto the C200 or the C100 before I put it in the bag, and then I left the tripod on the ground. And I had the backup tripod in the car, though, but the backup tripod, the primary tripod was supposed to be Manfrotto, and the backup tripod was a Liebeck, and I forgot the Liebeck plate, but bought the Liebeck tripod.
Nice.
So I had to go to London Drugs and buy a really average to below average tripod for my primary angle, and then fortunately the first shoot I had, and the only shoot I needed to film a second angle on, was with my best friend. So I put a light stand down and had the little mini tripod that you can like wrap around things.
Yeah.
I just wrapped around and put the 6D on top of that
Oh my goodness.
to get the second
What
angle.
a
And I was
setup.
I was like, you're the only person I would ever do this in front of.
Yeah. No behind the scenes
Yeah.
photos here.
Yeah.
Please.
And that's
Mistakes were made.
and yeah, when you forget a base plate, something as simple as a base plate for
Yeah.
some sort of stabilization equipment that you have, you know, I've had to freehand it and go handheld sometimes, just hope that I'm shooting, like, you know, set it to a higher frame rate so that I can, you know, shoot in slow-mo and that sort of thing, just because I forgot my base plate. Like, it happens
Yeah.
to the best of us. Yeah.
I had one early on in my career where I recorded a guy for trying to run through a script for probably 20 minutes and realized I didn't hit record.
Oh,
And then I looked it up, like I just looked at the camera and realized that it happened. And I went, okay, we're going to do it one. Now that you have it down, we're going to do it one more time for safety.
Nice.
And I hit it. And he got like 2 lines out that I needed.
Nice.
And I was like, okay, see ya.
Oh, dear.
Talking
Never
about
knew.
talking about safety, we're gonna keep recording, but we're over
Yeah, we should definitely
2
wrap
hours.
this bitch up.
So we're
Oh my
wrapping
gosh.
this up.
We know how to talk.
Yeah, you
No,
guys are
we
great
all-
talkers.
you
That's
guys-
this
yeah.
beautiful thing.
No, it's
but-
like,
We're usually behind the camera. We never get to
I
it.
know.
we're gonna keep it. I feel like whatever is left, like we're gonna keep recording. We're gonna go on YouTube. So first,
yeah, we'll cut this down.
Yeah, we're gonna keep going on this.
For those of
so-
you still watching, respect and thank you.
Yeah, the
That-
4 of
Thank
you.
That
you
was
for
a
sticking
long.
with us, guys.
Yeah.
We
That was
know
a
it's
long
been
run.
one.
For
It
sure.
was. This is probably one of our today like best live viewerships.
Yeah.
We did really good
The
today.
spikes for sure.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, on the like the time and everything. So first, I want to go on Facebook, either business or your personal, on Instagram. You want to say your own?
Say your
social
handles.
media?
Say where you
Yeah,
can
your
find
socials.
you.
Yeah.
At Aspect Filmworks on Instagram, and just Aspect Filmworks on Facebook. Like us. Check us out. Follow us.
Very nice.
At Joy Factory Films across all platforms, except for now Google Plus, because I heard that's going away.
Yeah.
Oh,
No.
It's
Much
that's
sad.
what he said.
sad.
So dead.
Yeah.
Were you loving Google Plus or what?
No.
Can't say I
Yeah.
loved
I
it.
don't.
No.
It's kinda
I don't like
that.
LinkedIn. Unpopular opinion, Nathan says
Oh.
LinkedIn
Wow.
is useless.
I like LinkedIn.
I like LinkedIn.
I like LinkedIn personally.
You know what? Right now with this professor that I'm working, like with Julia.
Hey, don't give all the secrets out, man.
He's no, I won't.
Okay.
But he's been working on showing me how LinkedIn works.
Yeah.
It actually works. Like there's
Yeah?
once you learn how to do it,
As a network too.
it is a network that
Mhm.
you cannot get locally. Like
Yeah.
you have limited amount of people. You have 100 and something people in Kamloops.
Yeah.
That one, that's where you, if you learn how to do it, like you get the unlimited.
Yeah.
You get the plus, I guess.
Yeah. I
Like
guess that's something for someone I hire to do, because I
No doubt.
personally-
Yeah.
See, that's
No,
it.
per-
That's the
personally-
bullshit there.
I'm the same with social media. I have to say, I love creating things for other companies and
Yeah.
businesses. That is my absolute passion. But in terms of my own social media, I would much rather hire someone else to do it. I have to say, except for stories, Instagram stories. I do enjoy those.
Yeah.
Stories are the way. I love my stories.
And well, and finally, for those in Avenue Media House, there we had 20% of the people that watch us, that they are watching right now, they don't follow us, so we'd love to have you follow us. Like, we have a lot of more things happening.
Yeah, so that's
So-
another thing we've been pushing, like, because we want to have you back on the show here. So it'd be great, great if you follow, so you can next time we have them on the show and other guests that are equally or maybe not quite as dope, but you know, time will tell. Yeah, follow, like us, and
Yeah, thank you for watching.
thank
Follow
you
us
guys
on
for
all our
Thanks,
thank you for being on the
guys.
show, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.